Call of Duty Black Ops 6, it's almost here. Us Zombies fans, we have been anxiously waiting to see what Treyarch has been actually cooking up for us. Is it Liberty Balls or is it Liberty Falls? In the meantime, I want to look back at all of the zombies that came before it. 76 maps, and I'm going to rank all of them bottom to top. If you don't want to listen to my introduction and beginning spiel, totally fine. Skip to the timestamp on screen now and jump to the start of my rankings. For an idea of how long I've been working on this video, I decided I wanted to make the video back on June 3rd. Don't know when this is going to be done, but I'm writing this introduction on September 2nd. So, been a while. Let's run through the ground rules. All games, non-Treyarch included, will have their eligible maps on this list. This is going to go from Nocturne and Toten in World at War to Urzikstan in Modern Warfare 3. It will also include remake and remaster versions of maps. Included in here are all main maps, Dead Ops Arcade, and survival maps cut from larger maps. Think things like Bus Depot for that. The exceptions are No Grief, No Turned, No Rush, No Gauntlet, No Onslaught, etc. I wanted to be sure that I went through and experienced all these maps fresh prior to ranking them, so I went back and played all of the maps again. I was surprised to find that my opinions changed in a lot of cases. There are maps that climbed the ranks, I came to like them, I gave them a proper chance, and I saw that they were better than I thought they were. There were also some maps that fell down. I took off the rose-tinted glasses and I found I couldn't rank them as high as I had wanted to before making the video. I also took an extra step to make the video a little more interesting. I created a spreadsheet and I've got the total zombies I've killed, the total time I spent playing these maps again, the average time I spent in each map, and I know which map I spent the most time in individually as well as collectively for the experiment. I'll divulge these numbers and statistics as we move along and they become relevant. Just keep in mind that these numbers are only for my intentional return to these maps, not including all of my lifetime sessions, as I've absolutely no way to track that. One more note before I start my rankings. What kind of zombies player am I, and how will I be judging the maps? I would absolutely say I'm a hardcore fan. I don't always go for the insane high rounds, I don't always go for speed runs. I've done both in the past, and I will do them again in the future. But my main thing is I like to do the Easter eggs. They give me a tangible goal, I can do them on a better timeline. I don't always have time to run round 100 plus games, but I can go for an Easter egg run that'll take a fraction of the time. I enjoy the story of zombies and learning more about it. I'm the kind of person who will sit there for hours watching storyline explanations. Now, with all that in mind, how will that affect my rankings? Maps with little to nothing to do outside of high rounds will generally speaking end up lower. Maps with a healthy amount of content that's enjoyable to play will be higher. There are, of course, exceptions. If a survival map is really good, fun to play, maybe even has some story impact, then it can rise in the list. On the other side of that coin, if a map has way too much going on, or what it does have is tedious and frustrating, then it may fall down the list. When I was settling on the final rankings for these maps, I tried my best to strike up a good balance between fact and opinion. However, this is my video, so opinion will reign supreme at the end of the day. That's going to lead to some questioned placements, maybe some controversial placements, and that's just the nature of the beast with a video like this. If you find an opinion that you agree with or you disagree with, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion about it. Alright, congratulations, you have survived my spiel. We are there. Without further ado, let's rank some zombies maps, and we're going to start at the bottom of the barrel. Starting off here at number 76 with the worst zombies map in history, we've got the Tortured Path. The Tortured Path can be summed up in one word: abomination. This disaster story is 3 maps loosely thrown into a chain that have a cap on the rounds you can pass, but you can only reach that round cap and progress to the next map if you do forced objectives. I despise this map, and the Easter egg isn't any good to redeem it either. I'll add, like with many World War II Easter eggs, this one is not solo friendly, and I am seeing this mostly from the solo perspective, so it really kills it even further. For clarity, it's not that the whole Easter egg is not solo friendly, it's just that there are steps within these Easter eggs where being a solo player is a disadvantage, and it just adds to the frustration of playing on them, and on a map like the Tortured Path that's already not good, being more frustrated by steps like that is not a good thing. It seems like no matter what kind of player you are, you're not going to be able to enjoy this map. If you're a casual player, you're going to find yourself up against annoying, difficult challenges that just take away from you wanting to hop in and kill some zombies. If you are a high round chaser, you're not going to have a high round to chase because you're capped at 30, 10 for each map, and then it's done. That's it. So no high rounds. If you like Easter eggs, you're going to find that the Easter egg is pretty boring and not interesting and not rewarding when you finish it. So there's really no reason for anybody to play this. I can't find anything nice to say about this map. I would much rather play it in its separate parts as 3 standalone survival maps. There is no joy to be found in the Tortured Path, and its name rings true. You will be tortured trying to play this. Up next, we've got Infection. I was ready to give this map a chance and hopefully enjoy it. And for the first 10 rounds or so, I was having a good time. And then it just got worse and worse and worse every round that passed. Every few rounds, one section of the map will be locked off. That's awesome, especially when you're trying to do an Easter egg step, upgrade a gun, get a perk, or do anything in that area. You gotta wait. Maybe that would be forgivable if it was the only special deal on this map, but no. Infection has more fun for you. Survivor escort missions are imposed upon you, and while you don't technically have to do it, you are majorly punished if you don't do it, with all power across the map being turned off, and you'll have to bring it online again one by one. The survivors themselves are frustrating to help. Early rounds, they're easy, but when you get further into the game and your weapons are weaker than a strongly worded letter, it becomes a major challenge to accomplish. The survivor loves to stand there and take it instead of continuing to move, which means they'll be surrounded time and time again while you desperately try to get the zombies off. If you manage to get this done the following round, you're granted with a free weapon upgrade, 1 of 20. The weapon upgrades are not good, and only giving 1 barely it's nothing. It just is nothing. That's not a helpful reward. Thank you very much. You've wasted my time. Don't worry, Infection still has one more treat for you. It's got EMP zombies, of course, just like every other Exo Zombies map, but they also added the Goliath. This is a massive, tanky boss, and he also has EMP abilities, and he uses them a lot. This is a horrible mini-boss. You just waste so much time trying to take him down, and then if you try to move away from him, you get EMP'd again like you already have a billion times while playing the map already. It's awful. Awful design. Nothing that Infection added to the Exo Zombies world was good. And where you may hope the Easter egg is good, it just isn't. You make a burger, you shoot a rocket, and that's it. Infection truly is a punishment to those who try playing it. Urzikstan finds itself at spot 74. It was the map for Modern Warfare 3 2023, and it tried even more than Outbreak to merge zombies and Warzone. It feels like this appeals to no one. The most hardcore of the zombies community may want to play it because it's the new zombies right now, but I don't believe many of that player base truly enjoys it. They want zombies, so they play it and maybe finish a story act or an Easter egg and probably leave it alone after that. The Warzone community has Warzone, so why would they want to spend much time at all playing this? There isn't PvP here for them to enjoy, and that's probably their main interest considering they play Warzone. So why does this map exist? What does it do for anyone? The best thing that I can say about this map is that it does use the scale well. This is a uniquely large map and it's filled out. There are many contracts to do, many things to find, many things to see. When you trudge through and you do an Easter egg, the bosses are large, and in the case of the worm boss, they're really cool. The base gameplay is smooth. Of course, it's a new Call of Duty, so moving and shooting feels good. That is where my compliments end, unfortunately. This map can't be played solo. Of course you can turn off squad fill and you can go by yourself, but there will still be other players on the map no matter what. This is the same for if you have a squad, your squad will still have other squads on the map. This isn't the worst thing. For the most part, you can go off and do your own thing by yourself or with your squad, but it opens the door to join other squads and work with them to achieve goals. For this mode, that system works fine, but I will happily never see this forced matchmaking style again in zombies. You start by choosing your loadout, and you risk losing it by playing the map and either dying or not exfilling successfully. Getting new gear takes a long time, and that's perhaps not the worst thing until you realize you are on a 45-minute time limit. The game ends after that, and so you may finally get set up just for the game to end and you either exfil or die. Everything about this feels empty and frustrating. Why would I put time into this if I have no agency over when my game ends? Cool, I got perks and a weapon tier 3. Let's take off some zombies. Oh, I have to leave? Can't I just stay? I want to play some more. No? Alright, I guess I'll leave. That is the cycle for this map. Most players want to hop into zombies and either do an Easter egg that same run or go to as high of a round as they can. Urzikstan has so much prior playtime required to do an Easter egg that many players will be turned off. It also has no high round community because it is impossible to high round. There aren't even rounds. Outbreak and early Vanguard had progression where every challenge or world change results in the difficulty getting higher. Not here. On Urzikstan, you don't even get that. You have 3 difficulties that are accessed by walking into them. Tier 1, 2, 3, and that's it. If you played Duran Fong, you remember the boss zombies who are annoying because they have guns, right? Well, Urzikstan has mercenaries, and a lot of them. They have guns. A lot of them. Half of the time, you aren't even fighting zombies in your zombies game. It's just mercenaries with guns. This isn't fun at all for zombies. It works in Warzone because the whole game is based on guns that you have and the guns the enemies have and seeing who comes out on top. Zombies isn't about that, and it makes for this mode being frustrating. Urzikstan does some small things well, but it stands in its own way of being a good zombies map. You can hop in and enjoy some very basic zombies killing, but for me going any deeper than that isn't worth it and just leads to frustration. Number 73 on this list is Duran Fong, and the masses were right about this map. But before we get into that, let's set the scene from my perspective. I never played Vanguard prior to playing every map for the course of making this video. My experience was waiting at release to see what people said, hearing how bad it was, and not playing it. I came into this expecting nothing good and truly not knowing how this game and map functioned exactly. I knew it was a challenge-based map with some sort of mix of Outbreak and Cold War mechanics. I didn't know what Covenants were. I didn't know how field upgrades were going to work. I didn't know what you could craft. I got trolled into thinking that I had enough to pack tier 1 and found out it's 7,500 points in this for some reason. I didn't even know what the perks were in here and what they did. I learned about all of these things as I played, and with nearly everything on this map, it has 2 outcomes: boring or annoying. I'll get the 2 exceptions out of the way now. 1, I like the Covenant system and the idea of it. Being able to kit yourself in a different way as the match progresses is a good feature. 2, that tier 1 Pack-a-Punch camo is quite nice, and I enjoyed it. Simple, but right up my alley. Now everything else is bad. The points being Outbreak points feels horrendous. The rounds progressing only by challenges is bad. The perks in theory could be good with upgrading them in game, but unless you save to go from tier 1 to 4 right away, it doesn't give that power spike feeling that perks should, and it just adds to the boring slowness of this map. The challenges you do have to complete are either so simple that it hurts to play them, so boring that it hurts to play them, or they feel so unfair later in the match that it hurts to play them. That unfair feeling comes largely from the 2 bosses of the map. I don't care about their actual names, so I'm going to call them Witch and Shooty from now on. Witch is a high health, teleporting, bomb placing asshole. Their attacks hurt, and yours are quite weak against it in turn. Shooty is a zombie with a Gatling gun that he can shred your armor and health with. This is an absurd enemy to have in here, and I don't know how this was seen as a good thing to add to the map. When playing zombies, you deal with melee attacks, and if it's going to be ranged, it is either a projectile that is easily avoidable or does low damage. Think the Mangler or DE Panzer shock attacks for projectiles that can be avoided, and think parasites for low damage projectiles that aren't very significant. Duran Fong is trying desperately to bring life and character to it with the demons and doctors talking back and forth constantly. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't care about these characters. It doesn't help that just like Cold War, you're a soldier and your quotes aren't important. Take this amazing line I heard from my character for example. I quote, "Was that your face or your ass? Hard to tell." There isn't anything engaging or enjoyable about Duran Fong. I was bored by round 4. Round 4! I got maybe 10 minutes of curiosity that kept me entertained before I kind of had a feel for this map, and then all interest was gone. I did the Easter egg too, and that is so simple it's laughable. Do the challenges you're already doing, interact with a door, interact with a ritual, look at a portal but don't use it, and you're done. Duran Fong sucks, and there is no way around it. Part of me hoped I'd find some joy here and be able to stand apart from the larger zombies crowd, but I can't do it. Number 72 is Bus Depot, and there is nothing here on this map. Enjoy the box, because that is it. Well, isn't that just like Noct? I hear you ask. And yes, but no. Noct was the first ever map and was on the World at War engine, which made this style of map more feasible to play. Noct also had that dark, mysterious atmosphere and had that character to propel it as a more enjoyable map. Bus Depot has no character. It's just Transit's Bus Depot cut off from Transit. Now, with this being in Black Ops 2, you get the wonderful gift of zombies constantly blowing up in your face because they're on fire. So you get to have a tiny map no perks, no pack-a-punch, exploding zombies, and buckets full of your own tears. Bus Depot's revolting, I got nothing else. Number 71 is Nocturne Toten from Black Ops 1. This version is not on the same level as the original Noct. It stays simple like the original, but it is too simple to be in the Black Ops 1 engine. The beauty of having nothing in World at War was that the zombies were slower, easier to dodge, and they had a capped spawn count. Here, the zombies are more refined, and in this small space, 2 hit down, no perks, that doesn't make for a great time. The weapons are worse, aside from the Thunder Gun, and they're all pretty useless. The only thing good here is the addition of Mule Kick. It's not that good, but it is helpful. It just doesn't prevent you from going down, and it doesn't help you get back up if you go down. So solo, you're still 2 hit down, you're down once, and it's game over. Not really good. And in co-op, you're likely not getting picked up unless it's somehow the end of the round, and so you're likely losing all of your guns anyway, it doesn't matter. High rounds are of course possible, but why would you do it when you can do it on a better version in World at War or even Black Ops 3? This just isn't really that fun of a map, it's not that good, and belongs down here near the bottom. Number 70 is the Darkest Shore. The Darkest Shore is a mixed bag that mostly leans negative. I like the concept of the setting. The oppressive fog that comes in and out at first is neat and spooky, but quickly it becomes annoying every time it comes. You can't see more than a few feet in front of you. It's pretty aggressive. Clearly no lessons were learned from Transit because that fog wasn't good, and it is just as bad here. This is a pretty small map, which isn't an issue by itself. However, it feels really chaotic and random in its layout, even though it is small. It seems like it can get lost real easily. The Wonder Weapon is fun, and upgrading it is a little annoying trying to harvest spines, but once you get that and upgrade it, being able to shoot those saw blades is good, and it is a strong melee weapon regardless. The new special zombie, whose name I won't even bother trying to pronounce, is fast and relentless. I suppose by itself it wouldn't be bad, a good challenge in fact. I just don't like that it is added with the brutes from the final Reich, as those spawned together can cause some issues. The slow-moving brute will be waiting for you when you're trying to evade the very fast new enemy. It just doesn't mesh very well, and those two together as a combo I can't get behind. This Easter egg is not enjoyable for me either. The step early on where you're in the U-boat area and you have to turn the valves to stop the fire, that step is another example of Sledgehammer not liking solo players. You're basically forced to use the cloaking ability. There are zombies and special zombies spawning constantly, and you have to stop for many seconds to turn 3 different valves. There is no reprieve from the onslaught, you're just stuck burning or getting downed when trying to flip the valves. That's where if you're alone, you've kind of got to use the cloak. You don't have an option to use a different kit because you need to be able to shield yourself while you flip those valves. Whereas if you had teammates, they could just protect you and you could use whatever ability you want. The rest of this Easter egg is forgettable and culminates in a boss fight that is not even a boss fight. It's just a glowing version of the new zombie type. All anticlimactic, and a map that needed a very good boss fight to save it from being irrelevant didn't even get a true final boss. This is one of the very rare times where I would say a map should be played without acknowledging the fact that there is an Easter egg. This egg is annoying and isn't satisfying at all, really. I don't like the Darkest Shore, but if for some reason I'm playing it again in the future, I'm going to pretend it doesn't have an Easter egg and just play survival for a bit. I spent too much time talking about this map. It isn't worth it. Let's move to the next one. Number 69 is The Beast from Beyond. The Beast from Beyond was the closer for Infinite Warfare Zombies, and it was a quite disappointing end, unfortunately. I am a fan of Extinction, and seeing the cryptids here was nice at first, but it doesn't fit well in a zombies game for me. Plenty of zombies maps have various types of enemies, and it works usually. For whatever reason, the cryptids being here, it does not fit for me, and I would prefer it if they hadn't done this. Having elements of the maps before it is a decent feature, and generally is fine, but this means the Kung Fu zombies are back, and they are genuinely one of my least favorite enemy types in any zombies map, so that part does not help this map at all. This is a shorter Easter egg, but on a bad map, I have no complaints with that. The boss fight is more cryptids, and there isn't one boss, it's just a bunch of rhinos, and they have to be taken out to achieve the end. It doesn't feel very special, and it isn't, ultimately. I am of the camp that doesn't count this Mephistopheles boss fight as part of Beast from Beyond, even though it is. It just feels so detached from it that I have a hard time allowing this map ranking to be improved by it. That boss fight is amazing, but it doesn't change my views on the Beast from Beyond. I don't have much else to say about this map, honestly. I'm apathetic towards it at best. I don't intend to come back to it because it simply doesn't seem to blend well with this game as a whole. If I want good Infinite Warfare Zombies, I'll play any of the other maps, and if I want Extinction, then I'll boot up Ghosts and play that. Number 68 is The Frozen Dawn. I had hopes that this game could end with a high note, but it fell short, unfortunately. What I do like about this map is the visuals and the layout. This map looks good and creepy depending on what location you're in. The aesthetic is great and I give props to that. This is a relatively tight map, but it doesn't feel unjust with its tight spaces. There are a few good spots to stretch your legs, and even the tighter spots have just enough room to wiggle in. Where this map loses me is doing its Easter egg. This is essentially an Easter egg only focused on upgrading different melee weapons. Along with this is a countless amount of soul boxes that are in pretty terrible spots. Simply put, there are too many soul boxes required in this map. It gets so boring so fast when every other step is some variation of taking out zombies in this small area or in this specific order to fill runes. I don't mind soul boxes, but using it as your step for half or more of an Easter egg is not something I am interested in. The benefit of this map is if you get through the soul box laden Easter egg, you are met with a solid boss fight. You have stages to this where the boss interacts with you in different ways and you need to watch out for him and the new attacks he brings. You also have to manage the basic zombies that are roaming around you. The Frozen Dawn did not impress to close World War II, but it didn't offend, and that puts it ahead of some of the other World War II maps. Hello, Mr. Blood of the Dead. I hear you are a reimagined Mob of the Dead. Does this mean you're an incredible map just like Mob was?
No!
I hear Mr. Blood of the Dead reply, and at that, I weep. This is the first Black Ops 4 map on this list, and Black Ops 4 is where I wasn't purely solo for these playthroughs. I brought my friend along to play all of the Black Ops 4 maps as he had never played them before. So first, a big thank you to Dayton for joining me during this part of the playthroughs and showing what a first-time player perspective is for Black Ops 4 maps. This map had the potential and the blueprint to be amazing. Instead, it flew off the rails and became a hassle to play more than it became a joy to play. There is simply too much going on in this map, and if you only want to do high rounds, that isn't so bad. You can have a diverse arsenal, and it won't be too bad to get set up. Remember though that I am seeing this from more the Easter egg side of things, and this map has one of the worst Easter eggs out there, which really soils the map for me. This thing is ridiculously long, and has quite a lot of forced round progression and waiting going on. Before starting, get the shield, get the spoon, get the retriever, get the monkey, and then get your retriever back again. The first real Easter egg step, find the birds 4 times, but you can only do 1 per round, so don't think you're going to do this quickly. They can spawn in any spot without order across the whole map, so it is likely going to take a ton of time hoofing it on foot and getting around this map. After this, you do the challenges section. Here you have a Simon Says challenge, and when you tell me that, I get a little excited. I love the Simon Says game testing my sequence memory. Oh wait, they ruined it here by making this somehow too complex as well? You do Simon Says, and then this gives you 3 codes, which you take across the whole map to decipher into 3 new codes that you then have to coerce a ghost into activating the correct machines matching your new symbol. It doesn't sound terrible when I say it like that, but the problem is you are wasting so much time moving around the map, getting these codes, changing them to this code to bring it over here and have this ghost do the thing. It's just a waste of time. Now I hope you're used to using Morse code, or you're just going to be sat here doing a lot of trial and error until you sort out this next code. This is a stupid step, which is pretty much a guessing game every time. The Banjo Challenge and Escort Challenge are what more of these challenges should have been like. These are decent and they don't waste a ton of your time. You can get in there and get them done. After you do all this, you're going to find yourself in the boss fight. But at this point, you're already like 2 hours into this unless you're a speedrunner. It is a long quest and the ending isn't super satisfying either. The boss fight is lackluster compared to the other release maps and really shows more of the Aether getting the shaft. The story is at least interesting and leaves plenty of questions with Great War Richtofen coming into the story. I have saved this part for last as it encompasses the whole map, playing it, high rounds, and the Easter egg. This map layout is garbage. It is massive and clunky. There are some fast travels, but they're in pretty bad spots, and while sometimes helpful, they aren't usually that practical either. Every step of setting up, every step of this Easter egg requires so much running that you'll spend more time running than doing anything else. It gets annoying, and halfway through the Easter egg, I'm usually just pissed or depressed. Take this clip, for example, as a good reference of the mood this map left myself and Dayton in.
You waste time. I am not ticklish.
Right, I think I'm done.
Alright. In this map, you're left running around aimlessly looking for birds, or running back to the Chronorium for a new code to enter at the stairs, to then run and see where the newest portal is, to then run to activate the portal and start the challenge, which then usually has me running around the map again with my ghost friend. And then when I'm done with that challenge, I have to go back to the Chronorium again to get another new code and enter that at the stairs, and then see where the lighthouse points and go there and activate another portal and do another challenge. They made this map massive, and yet they managed to not include the most important part of Mob of the Dead. Why is the Golden Gate Bridge not here? How do you mess that up? It is incredible how many bad decisions went into making Blood. There is way too much running around for this map to be enjoyable for me. I do not enjoy Blood of the Dead, and it is so sad because it could have been another great like its daddy, Mob of the Dead. Number 66 brings us Shinonuma from Black Ops 1. Shinonuma is not a map that did much to innovate over the map before it. It added the Wonderwaff and Dog Rounds. That is a perfect set of changes for when it was on World at War, not so much here. Shinonuma was the first map to give players room to breathe and run around. With the mechanics and weapons available in World at War, this map was also then the first to be more approachable to high round runs. In Black Ops 1, the weapons aren't as good or fun, and it loses its charm quite a bit. Already a mostly boring map, and it is made more sleeper here. Number 65 is Outbreak from Advanced Warfare. Outbreak introduces exozombies and is a good basic map. It allows you to get a feel for how exozombies will work and what is to come. For it being the first of these maps, it does have a surprising amount of enemy types that it throws at you. This map does have an Easter egg, and it is also basic like the map, easy enough to do, and it's short. The map itself is actually decently difficult for a first map due to the sheer volume of enemy types constantly thrown at you. It is by no means a favorite map, it's just an okay map. In terms of exo-zombies, it's decent. In terms of the broader scope of zombies, it's pretty bad, which is why it's down here. Number 64 is Terra Maledicta. This is yet another boring swing and miss by Vanguard zombies. If you were bored out of your mind by Duran Fong, then you'll be bored by Terra Maledicta. If you were one of the 11 people that like Duran Fong, then you'll probably like Terra Maledicta. The only things that separate these maps and put this one tick above Duran Fong is the Easter egg, if you can even call this one. And Terra Maledicta has the ray gun, I guess. Terra Maledicta at least has some more steps to this Easter egg, and getting the shield is different from getting nothing in Duran Fong. Same boring end with no climax at all, however you are given a bunch of scrap and random weapons in Terra Maledicta for finishing the Easter egg, unlike Duran Fong where once again you got nothing. These rewards are pitiful, just like the Easter egg, but they are rewards, so it puts this map a tick above some of the others. I'm just glad that I don't have to ever play it again. Number 63 is Carrier. Carrier is the third map for Advanced Warfare. This is a fun setting that's used pretty well. The layout works great and even has a split spawn system to it, which is more exciting for co-op like Varrock. The wonder weapon for this map is awesome. It sucks, but it's awesome. It's just in Advanced Warfare where every gun is super weak. This thing is still fun to use even when it's underpowered. The concept is glorious. Jumping into the Easter egg, you find a decently long one. The biggest letdown is how expensive it is to keep beating the vending machine weapons time and time again to get the parts you need. This step where you navigate and avoid the lasers is a great time and makes you feel like a secret agent. Using the Plinko machine for a combination entry is a fun challenge. I love this Plinko machine and will constantly come back to it throughout the match even if I'm not doing that Easter egg step. What can I say? My little lizard brain likes seeing ball bounce down slot and give me money. The cargo area is my favorite spot for training within Exo Zombies. It allows enough space to use the exosuit and more easily manage when you get EMP'd. I always enjoyed this map back in the day, and I was happy that I was enjoying it here, but it's not as good as I remembered, and it's definitely not a great map, especially because it is stuck in Advanced Warfare. So it stays down here, but Carrier, I love you. I'm sorry that you're here. Number 62 is Verrucht from Black Ops 1. This map is better as the original, but this is still like a decent survival map if you just want to hop in and play some survival. I will say that the smoothness of Black Ops 1's engine feels good here, but then you miss out on the old spawn rates and the old easy to escape zombies. One thing that is actually really nice about this Black Ops 1 version is that they added the Winter's Howl. It gives me something pathetic to laugh at while playing in this dark haunting asylum. As for the rest of the weapons, you can still choose to get the double barrel off the wall, and that's more than enough for me on this map, so I'm not totally bothered by the swap to the more boring Black Ops 1 box options. Realistically, if I'm going to play Verrucht, I'm not booting up the Black Ops 1 version, which is why it is down here. Number 61 is Farm. While not much different from Bus Depot, Farm enhances your experience by at least allowing perks. A small change, but a significant one nonetheless. This is an okay map that you can spend some time in and enjoy for a bit. It's very plain Jane, but it's not a terrible experience for that. Plenty of other maps are better, of course, but you can do worse than playing Farm. Number 60 is Dead Ops Arcade 3. It is easily the worst iteration of Dead Ops Arcade in my opinion. It has the most innovation and added features, but for me that works against what makes these maps fun. I want to hop in and run around taking out zombies playing through fun maps. This is too much going on and too many things to watch out for. Hard to see traps, ranged attacks from enemies, many detours and side locations. This version is not for me. It feels overcomplicated for what should be a simple hop in and go game mode, so it stays down here at 60. It can be enjoyable, just not for me. Number 59 is Transit. Ugh, Transit. Leaving Black Ops 1, Zombies was heading in a good direction. Then, you came along. You were the first domino to fall in what felt like an impending death of the Zombies mode. Thankfully that didn't happen, but this map was not the way to introduce Black Ops 2 Zombies. I understand what they were going for with this map. Bigger must equal better, right? But clearly size isn't the most important thing in a Zombies map. The systems they were making this map for couldn't handle the size, so instead of changing the vision, they compromised to make this map release. It is slow and sad to play. The bus is slow both in waiting and in driving. If you want to run, you are artificially slowed by denizens mauling your face or lava flooding your way. Would you like to see where you're going? Not allowed. Enjoy looking at fog because again, the systems couldn't handle the characters having eyes and being able to see. The one part at a time system for building with such an expansive map feels brutal. Something as simple as Pack-a-Punch is ruined because it's a guessing game for if it's going to stay open and accessible after you complete the process. You also have to do the Pack-a-Punch process every time you want to upgrade a gun, so it is a consistent guessing game the whole match. The wonder weapon of the map was the first attempt at a buildable wonder weapon, and the jet gun is technically one of the best, while also practically being one of the worst. Transit is a confusing map because if you look at it, it has glaring flaws, but many of them could be fixed if this map was made again. Let the players control when and where the bus goes, tune down the fog so people can see, allow for more than one part to be picked up at a time, and leave Pack-a-Punch open once it is open. You do these things and I feel this map gets much better. Unfortunately, this is the map we got though, and in this state, it is horrid to play. Number 58 is Alpha Omega. Alpha Omega is a sad map, even more so when you look at the context of its release. After a string of Chaos maps releasing, which led to the canceling of that storyline, the Aether storyline was returning, and that created excitement for what could come. This map was pretty much the worst way you could return to the Aether. A reimagining of a reskin, we took Nuketown, reskinned it into Nuketown Zombies, and then now we reimagined it further into Alpha Omega. Somehow they made it worse in every way. There are only two positive things I can say about this map. 1. The power is one simple switch and you're good. 2. The Easter egg is pretty quick so you can get off this godforsaken map relatively quickly. Pack-a-Punch is ruined because it can be turned off at any point and you have to go back to reopen the valve that clogged again. Doing this will, of course, cause a bunch of infected zombies to spawn as well, making the action of standing still turning the valve even more annoying. The layout for this map would be fine if you could actually use the whole map. You are disincentivized to use the lower half of the map because that will trigger Nova 6 bombers to spawn, and they are the opposite of fun. Don't worry though, because they aren't the only crawlers to manage. The Jolting Jacks are here, and they will gladly sit on top of every building and lay into you from above. Oh, and if they do decide to come down, they'll teleport a bunch and likely block your path at some point, causing difficulty when training. I am a huge fan of the Raygun Mark II, and I was originally excited to see it return, but then it did return and it was depressing. The base version and the upgrades are fine and decently interesting, but I don't care about them. They aren't exciting to use, and having them on this map doesn't help them at all. The good news again is that the Easter egg isn't super long and it is pretty easy to do, which leads to a boss fight with the Avogadro where you eventually bully him and bitch slap him back into the APD to end it. Alpha Omega, simply put, is not fun and not a map I look to when I want some zombies. Number 57 is Shangri-La from Black Ops 3. Guess what? One of the most beautiful zombies maps got a remaster that puts it right at the top of the most beautiful zombies map list. Now, that first sentence for this map ranking was part of my original script, but I had to change the rest later. This map and the original I marked down as ones I needed to come back to again before finalizing my ranking, and I'm glad I did. Going into this map again, I was able to give it a better run and enjoy it more than I ever have and be more fair to it. I'm going to remark on those thoughts more directly when I get to Shangri-La from Black Ops 1, as that's the original map and is also the better version of it, so I will talk about the core of this map then. For now, let's talk about the remaster. Of course, like I said, it is incredible to look at, but that is about it for positives in this version. The only other major change to this version relates to the 3617248 JGB22458, or, the baby gun. I don't understand why they made you get hung up on the zombies as you kick them away. It isn't like this in Black Ops 1, and it's so much more fluid. You took the best part of this map, which is the baby gun, and you made it worse. The loss of PhD also affects the identity of this map, and I wish they had just left it in. Shangri-La is a tough map, and you can now use gobblegums to make it a little easier, but I feel like if you're looking to play some Shangri-La, you're likely looking for that difficulty that comes with it, and you're just much better playing off the original. This is a whiff on remastering a map. Number 56 is Shaolin Shuffle. Shaolin Shuffle was the third map for Infinite Warfare Zombies, and it was the first one to be a true disappointment. I started with having a decent time, but as this map adds more mechanics and enemy types, it turns into more of an annoying mess than anything else. This map brings in the fighting styles. They're interesting, and my only real issue with them is that they don't recharge after use. You have to go find and grab the jug again to get the ability back once again. The special round being skating zombies is fine, really just a reskin of the clowns from Spaceland, so they work. The ninja zombies, however, are not fine. They're a major detriment to the enjoyment of this map. These enemies suck to deal with. They teleport all over, they've got lunge attacks, and there are a lot of them when they spawn. Even better is they come up a lot when you try to fight the Rat King boss. The Rat King is annoying himself because he is tanky and he spawns a lot of those ninja zombies. I also tried to set my fights against him when I only had one zombie left so I could focus on him. I found that every time I did this, he would kill that zombie and force the next round to start, so I'd be dealing with the Rat King, the normal zombies, and the ninja zombies he spawns. It became obnoxious and unenjoyable very quickly. The Easter egg is decent, but is mixed with plenty of Rat King fights that take away from being able to enjoy the Easter egg as you do it. There are plenty of codes and symbols, and these keep it interesting. Chase down symbols using the Rat King eye, and then you have to do a decoding of those symbols in the name game on the rooftop. This is a good step as long as you have a translator and a list of potential words, because there's a lot of them, and you knowing what all the potential words are is paramount to what you're doing. There's over 50 of them. You gotta know it. You need a list. You're not gonna remember all of them. The final boss is of course the Rat King, and it's a multi-stage fight that keeps you moving and doing different mechanics. It isn't very interesting, to be completely honest, and having seen the Rat King during the whole map, it takes away from this fight because it's just him again with some very basic new mechanics like killing zombies in goo quickly or shooting eyes around the arena, and between each phase the Rat King enters the arena and you damage him to trigger the next stage. It isn't a bad fight, it's mid at best I'd say. This map is certainly not one of my favorites. I have generally negative feelings towards it and do not intend to come back to this map much at all in the future. Number 55, Der Riese from Black Ops 1. If you're gonna play Der Riese, this is the last way anyone's gonna do that. This version is better only graphically, and in every other way is serviceable or worse. Your weapon choice being more boring is abundantly clear here, more so than in any of the other Black Ops 1 remakes. Going through and pack-a-punching the World at War weapons is much more fun, especially when one of those is the PPSH. If you're going to take away the most fun part of what the simple World at War Der Riese offered, then you've got to replace that with something else. This version doesn't do that. It adds nothing aside from Mule Kick, and that isn't enough to swing it. Another thing of note, this map's iconic training spot is much worse now as well. For some reason, the geometry in that area is messed up, and there are a few small lips that you'll get stuck on randomly as you try to run by. This is going to nearly get you killed many times, and will likely get you killed at some point. That's how my return to this map ended. Lots of close calls before I was finally stuck just long enough for the zombies to surround me. This is a prime example of how to not bring back an iconic map, and is not going to be played very much by anyone. Number 54 is Die Rise. Die Rise is poor concept and poor execution 101. Just like Transit, you spend so much downtime running around for parts, and yet again you can only carry one at a time. It takes a long time to get where you're going, and you have to keep running loops to get parts from their areas to run it to the correct crafting table. Waiting for elevators so you can get perks or so you can go where you need to go brings this map to a grinding halt. The setup for this map is horrendous. What helps is that after the setup is done, the map is pretty fun. This liquefier is a great wonder weapon, but it also feels like a middle finger to the players at the same time. They really said to us, this wonder weapon is great. Oh, also, it will throw you off the map and kill you, so have fun! The trample steam is a good addition to this map, and it would be great if it weren't so limited in its applications. The jumping jacks are also a fun addition here. Nova 6 crawlers for some reason are the most reused enemy it feels like, but these ones are interesting enough to get a clean pass. Plus, having perfect accuracy will reward you with a free perk. Dairei's had some potential there, but the setup truly kills it for me. I don't enjoy loading into this map, and it only becomes rewarding too late into your play session. Number 53 is Verrucht. This map was one that I wasn't excited to come back to play. My anticipation was that this would be my lowest ranked map off of World at War. This ended up staying true, however, I was pleasantly surprised at how this map made me feel. I forgot how intense these early maps once were. The eerie setting, the horror-filled screams resonating through the asylum, and of course, the endless zombies coming after you. These aspects really add to the map. It is a style that has been mostly lost to time. The settings of these maps aren't typically as haunting, and that keeps Verrucht from being lower on the list than it already is. A zombie apocalypse is a horrifying concept, and this is one of the best maps to portray that feeling of dread associated with it. That really is the biggest compliment I have for this map. Otherwise, it's some simple zombie slaying action in a tight spot with nothing to do. It doesn't scratch the zombie's itch super well for me, but this is where the ranking changes from maps that are awful and leave players feeling physically and mentally ill to maps that are enjoyable to play even though they aren't the best. Number 52 is Dead Ops Arcade. It is simple, it is fun, it is creative. Unlocking the mode is creatively done as well by allowing the player to move around in a menu screen, which is a neat concept. Hopping in, you find a familiar art style, but a completely new way to slay zombies from the bird's eye point of view. This is purely the developers having fun, and us, the players, being able to benefit from that. This mode is difficult. The further you go, it quickly stacks the odds against you, but it is still fun. That is important. The difficulty does not detract from the fun, and that is a hard balance. It is chaotic by yourself, and that increases exponentially when you add players through co-op. Hop in, slay zombies, and have a great time playing in a way we don't often get to. Number 51 is Dead Ops Arcade 2. Dead Ops Arcade 2 is the best Dead Ops Arcade iteration in my opinion. This keeps the simple fun of the first version and adds some new fun to it. The side and bonus modes are much more fun in this compared to the first version. I felt that the first person drop was too jarring back in the day, but playing it now, I think it's still jarring. However, the protections they offer you when you transition and you're using it, it's actually a pretty helpful tool. This is Dead Ops Arcade 1 with more enemy types, more fun, and more chaos. This is the first time I get to bring up that spreadsheet I mentioned earlier, and that's because this map has the most kills from one map for me with 4,220. I find the number there to be a little bit unfair because this was done in Dead Ops, and this is where zombies are coming all the time, so that kill number just racks up. With that being said, I'm also going to include later the map with the most kills. That's a round-based map, so when we get there, I'll bring this up again. But for now, Dead Ops Arcade 2 does hold the true number one most kills that I had during this replay. The Dead Ops maps are not ones that I crave, so they aren't high on the ranking, but the rare occasions I do play, they are fun, and that is all they need to be. Number 50, Attack of the Radioactive Thing. This map had earned a reputation of being highly complicated and requiring a lot of its players. I hadn't played this map prior to doing these rankings, so I was quite interested to see what degree of truth there was to that sentiment. I can now say that it is indeed intense, and it requires a lot of you. I will touch more on that in a moment. This map is quite large and has some odd pathing that feels sluggish at times. I really don't like that the main street near spawn doesn't connect through and is blocked by a fence that can't be bought to clear. Being able to run up that street freely would help clean up the size of the map just a bit. There are a few places like that where you feel stuck going the long way, and with how much running there is on this map, I can't get behind the layout. The Krogs are a decent dog round style enemy that fit right in here. The Brute also works well and feels like a very fair challenge. I had no idea what he was, and I didn't even notice him the first time he spawned. Out of nowhere, I got flashbanged by him, and it was frightening. I had a whole horde with me, and suddenly I couldn't see. I learned quickly what had happened and was able to deal with the Brute in the future afterwards. Infinity Ward made a really good mini-boss with that. Back to the intense knowledge this map needs with its Easter egg, many people will say Dead of the Night is a map that requires a lot of its players, and while that is absolutely true, Attack of the Radioactive Thing follows that statement even more. There is so much going on to complete this Easter egg, it's actually nuts. It unfortunately is not the style of intensity that I enjoy. I ended with a messy sheet of notes, numbers, and my desired chemical that was all a jumbled mess. I also had 7 reference photos on my phone all to complete this thing. I don't mind taking notes to remind myself of things or jot down some codes, but this is a bit much. When all of it comes together and you're able to whip up your compound to take down the radioactive thing, it is a pretty fun end, but I don't feel that it is very worth it ultimately. Especially when the boss fight that follows is one that I don't enjoy either. This boss fight I found to be mostly tedious and annoying. The first stage, you have to slowly escort your bomb down to the submerged boss. It is slow, and while dealing with zombies and krogs, the boss is bombing you with waves of artillery that keep you away from the escort and keep you running where you don't want to be. This endangers you from the zombies and crocs, but at the same time, it keeps you from escorting the thing you're supposed to escort. I can't touch the cart because every time I touch it, I've got artillery coming at me, so I can move it just little bit by little bit by little bit. It takes way too long to move this thing down the beach in such a simple step, it just takes too long. The next step is the laser beam step, and this is made clunky because while on the run from zombies, you've got to stop and be stationary to use these turrets on the boss. After that, you've got the acid that you have to avoid, and lasers to dodge on your way to activating your bomb once more, and then you enter the boss to enter a code you hopefully wrote down from ages ago to finish the job. This map is too convoluted and tried to do too much in my opinion. Where a great boss fight might be able to redeem a part of the map like this boss falls short and doesn't help the overall picture. This still isn't my least favorite map from Infinite Warfare obviously. I know it may have sounded that way, but I did enjoy this map and think it has some good to it. I was mostly let down by this boss and the chemical mixing step. Outside of that, I do think this is a positive experience. Number 49, Shinonuma from Black Ops 3. This run of Shinonuma is gorgeous and it is fun to play. It's mainly missing the defining characteristic of the World at War Shinonuma, which is its high round potential. Don't get me wrong, you can of course go for high rounds in this version here, but it isn't as approachable as in the past. Those World at War mechanics and the introduction of the Flogger Trap really made this the quintessential high round map, and here those World at War mechanics are gone, leading to slower, tougher high rounds. Considering that these high round runs are the identity of Shinonuma, I can't place this any higher or as the best Shinonuma version, and so it stays here as fun, but not as good as the original. Number 48 is Descent. The final map for Advanced Warfare went out showing what potential the mode truly had, as well as the glaring flaws that the design of the game had. Let's start with the layout. This map is not necessarily large, however it's built on a long line. From spawn, you go down and have two paths that go to the back of the map and they converge to go deeper to the true back of the map. This would get annoying to traverse, but they nicely place teleporters at the furthest ends of the map, making it not feel so large. Having Oz talking down on you the whole match is quite fun. He unexpectedly rips you into the boss arena with him early, and it gives you a taste of what is to come. Then later he pulls you in for a long fight against turrets and a few versions of himself. Finally he brings you back one last time for a big fight. It is expertly crafted that each time you come here, there's a new mechanic added and all of that builds to the final. You don't feel overwhelmed by the boss then, because you have an idea of what to expect and how to avoid the different traps. This fight is the first zombies boss fight, and for what it is great. The only issue I have with it is that every time you cleanse to do damage or simply to cleanse yourself, all power is dropped and you have to run to get the 4 generators back on. It isn't a huge deal, but considering it is the only downside I have for this fight, I'd say Sledgehammer did a great job with this one. This Easter egg truly bounces from incredibly fun to incredibly annoying more than any I have ever done. Getting the grenade only challenge is really fun. Then, having to get hit by EMZs to charge a device is stupid and obnoxious. They're the reason people hate exozombies, and you make a step to force players into getting EMP'd? That's stupid. The Goliath underwater step, that's really fun. Then having the friendly fire challenge where 4 AI versions of your characters chase you with guns and shoot you while zombies chase you, that's just stupid. There is a great jump puzzle segment which feels awful to do on mouse and keyboard like I did, by the way. Save yourself and use a controller. Then you have the number step at the end. This is tedious because the way this Easter egg is set up, you're likely in the high rounds now and have to be selective with how much you jump, how many zombies you kill, and getting the right amount of slam hits, all the while it's high rounds, and in Exo Zombies, this means you are fighting for your life every second with weapons that fire wet noodles. See how this goes from a great idea to complete ass throughout the whole Easter egg? The only times I went down was during one of these dumb steps, twice while trying to charge the device with EMZs, and once during the friendly fire challenge. At the end of the Easter egg, I am pretty indifferent to it. This map is the best that Exo Zombies has to offer for sure, but it is massively held back by the game it's in. It is so obnoxious to play Exo Zombies that it's hard to enjoy any of these maps. I remembered some vague enjoyment from this mode and was curious to come back and see if I liked it. Unfortunately, it was quite the disappointment. This is my highest ranked Exo Zombies map, and as you can see, it's still not very high on the list. Number 47 is Nocturne Totem from Black Ops 3. I had written some general notes to myself before playing this map. I know my tendency to forget things, and I thought I had some good ideas I wanted to ensure I wrote into this section. I had assumed from memory that I was going to touch on a few points, and after playing the map I would fill in my notes with the rest of the details. I was wrong in almost every way. This version of Noct is not the worst one like I thought. It can't top the original, and that's perfectly fine, but this version of Noct is actually very enjoyable. The only downside that remains from my original notes is the art style here. Don't get me wrong, this is a gorgeous Nocturne Totem, but it isn't meant to be gorgeous. This map has always been about the dread in both the foggy, dark art and the chilling audio. This is lost here unfortunately because the Black Ops 3 style isn't much meant for displaying dread. What this art style is good at is portraying mystique and grand set pieces. It does this phenomenally well in other Black Ops 3 maps, it just doesn't jive with the energy this map is expected to have. You can look at the rest of the map as two sides of the same coin. There's too much extra stuff added to the map, or adding these things is a perfect way to spice the map up. I am with the latter on this matter. You do not need to use these new additions with perks or gobblegums, you can simply play this bare bones every day. Going for high rounds is possible for more people now just because perks exist and can help ensure your survival, as well as increase your firepower. However, if you want to get further and try out some oddball perk combinations or gobblegums, then this is the perfect place to do dumb things. You could also play this with a variation of a 2-box challenge. Of course, stick with the 2-box guns you get, but then take whatever first 4 perks you get from the Wonder Fizz and run with that loadout. It can make it fun and different. The tight spacing also makes for a good challenge in the Black Ops 3 system, a challenge that is fun to tackle. This is a map to mess around in because it doesn't matter if you get far or not. There isn't an Easter egg to do, there isn't a boss to fight, there is no wonder weapon to build, but you have these extra options with gobblegums and perks and weapons to upgrade through gobblegums, or you can take none of it. You can do whatever you want in any variation you want and make this more fun for yourself or friends. I think this makes for a completely suitable Nocturne Totem. Number 46, Nocturne Totem. This is where it all began. For zombies, for me, and I'm sure for many of you. Without Noct, there would be nothing else. I find my time on this map to still be entertaining to this day. Load in, shoot zombies, dopamine rush, die, repeat. Is the epitome of simple. You want perks? None here. You want powerful weapons? None here. You want pack-a-punch? Not here. You want an Easter egg? Absolutely not. You want to kill zombies? Yeah, we got that. This map is forever elevated due to what it ultimately brought us. And there is still charm here that keeps it fun to come back to once in a while, even 16 years later. It stays lower because there's so many maps now that do more and do better. But you can't disrespect Noct and put it right at the bottom. Number 45, Shinonuma. Shinonuma always stood out to me as a great map, and is the map I return to the most in World at War aside from Duris. This map releases you from your shackles of tight-knit corridors and rooms. There is space to breathe and move around. This elevates what the player can do, especially casual players. Also, seeing the Wunderwaffe enter the arena is fun. The ray gun was the only wonder weapon prior, and there was no promise that anything more would be added. Unfortunately, the Wunderwaffe being able to steal your jug is not great and deters players from using it, but it is iconic and powerful all the same. I never tried training in the fishing hut side of the map until I went back to play and record for this video. I always stuck to the comm room. I wasn't interested in the fishing hut section, but I knew other people were, so I'd let them have it. I was so wrong. The fishing hut is great, and I wish I hadn't missed out on that for so long. The high round community was essentially born here on Shinonuma, and that makes it special. There isn't a ton to do in Shinonuma, but it is a fun map that introduced the 4 of Ultimus and has personality in its style and feel. Number 44 is Bodega Cervantes. This is a classic survival map that gives you access to all weapons, perks, and pack-a-punch. There is a nice training spot in the main section of the map. You put all of this together, and you have a solid survival map that is entertaining to play. Add into the fact that it is in World War II and has some really good mechanics to it, it creates a great environment for you to play. Number 43 is Altar of Blood. This is a good survival map that is mostly distinguished by its intriguing setting. The map looks nice, it has a simple square layout, and it's all wrapped around, of course, the Altar of Blood. This map plays well and has both brutes and brenners to deal with. This is a good map to just hang out and slay some zombies in. Number 42, USS Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus offers a unique survival experience that shakes up the formula a little bit. Taking place on a ship, the waves at sea rock and tip the ship, causing the onboard vehicles to slide around. This dynamically changes the layout of the map. They're not major shifts, but can close off a path momentarily or open another. This is a good way to keep things interesting and change it up for a survival map. It is also nice that there are no brutes on this map. I do like that enemy type, but having them on every map gets a bit tiring, so this is a nice break from them. I figured with these three maps being so similar as they are just the takeaways from the Tortured Path, that I'd put them all together and put them in order of what I think they are quality wise. Number 41 is the Shadowed Throne. This map is set in a crumbling Berlin, and in that regard it has a feeling similar to Gorod Krovi or Mauer der Toten. It has some good things going for it that help lift it above some of the other parts of World War II. This is a smallish map, but uses the space well and feels like there's a good amount of space to explore. The new enemy type of the map is the Sizzler. These are an offshoot of the Pests and are at worst a nuisance. I think these are fine and allow for some variety without bothering the player with too much going on. The Wonder Weapon is actually quite good, being able to mow down zombies quickly with the primary fire and being able to restore ammo by using the secondary fire is a great combo that keeps this weapon good for a long time. The Easter egg has some steps that I learned quickly were not going to be done on mouse and keyboard. The dials and safe combination move way too slow while using a mouse and keyboard. Going to a controller, you can spin these much faster. Trying to do this yourself while the dials move so slow, it just isn't something that will work, which is poor design. This is when I really started to notice the game's tendency to have steps requiring you to be stationary and locked on a device or a machine to do a step. This is horrible, and the fact that it happens so much is a major flaw. Playing by yourself becomes a headache because you're choosing between doing the step and possibly getting downed, or you don't progress through an Easter egg. But, going away from that, if you get through this Easter egg, it is a decent one on a decent map. The boss fight brings you into the Zeppelin and you are fighting in a tight arena. This is a tough fight with a ton of zombies chasing you while the boss is also attacking you. I believe this to be a positive of the map that helps bring it to a close. This is not a map I will likely come back to a lot, but I do like it, and it stays here in the list. Number 40 is Classified. Classified takes 5 from before it and does some good changes and some bad. I started writing this out with the intention to rank Classified higher than 5 based on having just played Classified and enjoying it quite a lot. However, once I started writing, I realized I didn't actually like this version as much. The good stuff here is the expansion of the map. The new areas are welcome and they work well. I like that in the more modern Zombies era, they added buildables to get Pack-a-Punch up. And on top of that, having Pack-a-Punch in Area 51 is a great twist to the map. The Winter's Howl got some love, and it's a better version of itself, but it's still not that great. Now, for the bad stuff. The Pentagon Thief being removed is the biggest sin of this map. He is iconic to the identity of 5 and the Pentagon in Zombies. Him being gone is a terrible loss, and I can't think of why they wouldn't find some way to get him in here. The Easter egg being forced onto such high rounds is absurd, and a large portion of the player base will never do it because of, well, skill issue, or I guess time issue, or want issues. This map is a more relaxed, fun version of 5, and if that's all you want, then that is perfectly fine. Otherwise, it missed on what made 5, 5, and for that, it's gonna stay here. Number 39, Forsaken. Forsaken is the anti-pinnacle of Cold War zombies. The style of facility after facility was tired, and no map felt it more than Forsaken. This was a disappointing end to Cold War, and I wish I could care more about this map. I find myself pretty bored when playing, and it had the potential to be interesting. I initially wasn't paying much attention to the Cold War zombie storyline during its life, and so I didn't know who the Forsaken was, and I was too bored by the map to care. Now that I've gone back and researched what the story is, I found that the Forsaken character is quite interesting and powerful. I wish the Forsaken was given a better map to be finally visually introduced to us after skulking in the shadows previously. The Wonder Weapon is the highlight of this map and pretty much the main reason I would find to come back here. A melee and SMG combination that shoots crystals is great. Forsaken is a map that I believe can be enjoyed casually, but beyond that I don't have much of a draw to this map. Number 38 is Groston House. This is a fantastic survival map. This thing keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time, and if you slack at all, it will cost you. This tiny house makes for incredibly challenging survival, and training is very finicky. You'll have to do it eventually, but it is not easy at all with how tight the spacing is. This at first appears to be an unassuming map that has nothing to it. However, from the start, you're able to get wall weapons, perks, and armor. That will keep you going for a little while, but you're going to need more. Thankfully, doing some small steps will get you the mystery box, and only a small step after that, you can make so every weapon out of the box is pack-a-punched. This works really well for the map to hide these features, but make them easy to obtain once you know about them. In short time, you're going to be running for your life. This map constantly sends brutes at you, which make it difficult to stay alive. This is one of the most intense survival maps that will have you locked in, start to finish. It is also just a fun time. Groston House is great for those that want a tough survival map with a little flair of extra steps to do. Number 37 is Verrucht from Black Ops 3. Chronicles Verrucht is the best version of Verrucht, and one of the cases where a remaster does provide a better experience than the original. The only thing missing here is the original art style and dread. Just like remastered Noct, that is missing. But the rest of this map is great. The visuals, while not showing the same dread, are of course great as it is a part of Black Ops 3. This version moves a lot faster with improved zombie spawns and motion, and that is a big help to keep this small map fast-paced even more than it was in the past. You still have the original 4 main perks, but you can use the Wonder Fizz to get other perks if you desire. The box weapons are good, and adding the Wunderwaffe and Raygun Mark II are both great additions that add some great spice to this map. Being able to utilize Gobblegums adds a further layer of customization to your matches. This is still a simple map without much to do, but this version gives you the most options possible without changing the core identity of the map too much. Number 36, Town. Good old Town. This was the map that dragged Black Ops 2 along until Mob of the Dead came around like a knight in shining armor. It is a simple survival map, it's decently sized, there's some room to stretch your legs, but it isn't too easy either, which is nice. There is a nice selection of perks for use, and the Pack-a-Punch is in a fun location in a pool of lava. Speaking of lava, that is what keeps this map from being higher. I get why it's here, but it doesn't make anything more fun. It makes it worse. In a map that is tailored to a casual crowd, you push them away when you punish them for moving or killing zombies, which are kind of the only two things you do when playing a survival map like Town. The lava isn't going to make things much more difficult, only more tedious. Town is a great survival map and one that I sunk tons of time into back in the day. Number 35, the Archon. I was ready to hop in and be done with Vanguard. The first 2 maps were miserable to work through, and I anticipated the same thing here. I was surprised to say the least when I actually had a great time playing the Archon. I spawned in and found myself standing in the Terra Maledicta map. I thought I loaded up the wrong map, but it turns out they reused Terra Maledicta, just tweaking it a little bit. I didn't notice for a few rounds that this was actually a round-based map this time. There were doors to buy and things to do outside of the objectives like the other maps. Imagine that, being happy that you can buy doors. Something that would seem so insignificant in the past ends up feeling wonderful after suffering through the maps before this. So, we have a round-based experience to close out Vanguard. What else does this do for us? This time around, it has an Easter egg with some more typical steps one would expect from a zombie's Easter egg. There are things to collect and dig up, soul boxes to fill, and runes to decipher. This is by no means a complicated Easter egg, but comparing it to Duran Fong and Terra Maledicta, there is a vast difference between them. During the Easter egg, you once again get access to the Decimator shield. In Terra Maledicta, this was a good shield to have, but not the best. In the Archon, however, it is the best shield in zombies. This thing is busted. They buffed the recharge rate of the secondary slam attack, and now every 30 seconds you can wipe a whole horde with the touch of a button. It also doesn't break. The trade-off being, when zombies hit you, it doesn't block all damage, it just reduces how much damage you take. This is a totally fair trade-off, and I was having so much fun running around gathering zombies and blasting them away with the shield. Normally, I'd be annoyed with the Witch and Shooty, but here they're almost irrelevant. Just hit them with the shield slam attack and they vanish from your life and your troubles. I can't overstate how fun this shield is to use. Back to the Easter egg though, it culminates in a boss fight, which is a 3-stage fight where you have to slowly scale up the mechanics every round. The first run you just survive and damage the boss. Second round is mostly the same, except now you have to collect crystals to stun the boss and open a damage phase. The third phase is like the second, except now you have to watch out for the boss attempting to heal. If you complete this boss fight, you are gifted a Wunderwaffe as a reward, along with a bunch of points. These are actual rewards for finishing a fight, unlike, again, the first 2 Vanguard maps. I like the Archon, and that was one of the biggest surprises of this whole revisit with playing all these maps. Number 34 is Outbreak from Cold War. Before we get into the specifics of this map, I would like to say that this map had the longest single session playtime out of any of the maps during my replay. I spent over 4 hours just playing one time to really feel out the map and do the Easter egg. It was a good experience for me because it changed my opinion on this map quite a bit. Outbreak is a major departure from what Zombies typically is, and it landed the community in a mixed position. Those for Outbreak and those who just want round-based zombies. I generally lie on the side of wanting round based and to not do things like Outbreak, but I do think Outbreak is at least enjoyable, and that is much more than can be said about what this mode pulls ideas from. This takes a large chunk of inspiration from World War II's Tortured Path, in that it is a segmented set of maps pushed together. However, Outbreak does it this time in a much more enjoyable format. These maps you are in are large, with zombies and special enemies filling them out. You can go where you want, do what you want, and progress as quickly or slowly as you want. There are also vehicles to drive, which is unique for zombies. In each map, you have a main objective which opens the door to progress to the next map and increases the difficulty. You also have 3 side objectives which can give you rewards and points to help you gear up. If that was all there was to this mode, I would be much more bored by it and it would end up way lower on the list. Knowing how I view things though, you give me a good Easter egg and I will have a heightened interest in your map. This Easter egg is solid. Your first steps are to simply play the map, and then you have a few small items to grab and get ready before you're thrust into the Easter egg specific bunker to initiate the boss fight. This boss fight is the saving grace of Outbreak. This fight gives me reasons to come back and play just to do this more. Fighting a massive tempest known as Legion, you are in a large arena, but don't let that fool you into thinking this will be easy. The whole fight you are running for your life as zombies and special enemies spawn fast and in large numbers. You need to navigate them and protect yourself while also stunning the boss so you can damage his 3 orbs. You're also on a timer, which makes this fight intense and super fun. Genuinely, this is the only reason that Outbreak is not lower on this list. I'm not a fan of the Outbreak style as a whole and would prefer if it doesn't exist again, but this Easter egg and boss fight are enjoyable and help pull this mode out of being entirely useless to me. If you like boss fights and Easter eggs, then this map will satisfy that itch for you just as it does for me. Number 33, Kino der Toten. For me, this was the map that fully pulled me into the zombies world and got me to love it. Nox started it, but I didn't pay attention to zombies again until Kino der Toten. Then, there was no looking back. A great setting of a theater that's falling apart, it feels tight, but it's open enough for enjoyable gameplay. Introducing the Thunder Gun is a great achievement of this map. The biggest thing holding Kino back is the Nova Crawlers. They aren't an experience ruining element, but they are frustrating. They disrupt training flow, and if you're unfortunate to be caught in their explosion, you can't see and you can't sprint, so you better hope you don't stumble into zombies. Kino was a great map to come back to visit for nostalgia and simple, well-made zombies gameplay. Number 32, Firebase Z. Firebase Z was a map that I originally had a lot of faith in at release. Over time, I've come to find the map is relatively boring. What it does well is giving you the Ray K and having that be a powerful wonder weapon for you. This thing is a great design, and I certainly enjoy playing this map just to use the Ray K. Firebase Z also gives a good enemy variety and a good space to play in. Outside of that again, it's boring or even occasionally frustrating. The mimics were introduced here, and unfortunately I do not like them much anymore. They spawn way too much, and having such an aggressive pull is a tough mechanic to manage. The Orda defense rounds are an interesting mechanic and are pretty fun. They don't detract a ton from the map and are quick usually. I'm generally not a fan of forced objectives, but this one is actually passable. The Easter egg is like other Cold War Easter eggs in its simplicity. The mimic capture step is still one of the most obnoxious steps in zombies though. Sometimes the trap won't activate no matter how much you spam it, so you gotta pick it up again to reset and try again. Sometimes the mimic dies on you like a weak little baby bitch, and sometimes even with the mimic very low, it won't be captured and then you've gotta go grab another trap. It isn't the absolute worst Easter egg step in zombies, but oh boy, I could do without it. The boss fight being another Orda is disappointing, especially with how cheesable this fight is. With no phases to the fight, you can just throw down a ring of fire, a kill streak, and melt the boss in literal seconds. I think Firebase Z is a decent map for hopping in and messing around for a while, but it isn't deeper than that for me these days. Number 31, Shangri-La. I appreciate what Shangri-La is and what it is trying to do. Its visual style is great and the setting is immaculate. This art style is rare. It is the nature being the good looking part of the map. It's not a massive building, it's not a castle, it's not some ethereal objects. It is the nature surrounding you, and that's nearly it. The temple, which isn't naturally made, feels like it is. The facility that wraps throughout the nature, it feels a part of it as well. Stylistically, this is one of the best maps out there. Just like when I talked about Black Ops 3 Shang, I spoke on visuals right away and then had to redo the rest of my script. So let's discuss the original Shang. I still do not tend to enjoy this map a ton. I have a bit more gripes than I do compliments. I like the look, I like the general layout structure, and I like the baby gun. I give this map credit still because it is a different style both visually and from a gameplay perspective. even if these aren't all good things. It is tight, tough, and throws a lot at you in various ways. There are different enemies all scattered in and out, traps that can block you, and sneaky pathways. Talking about the layout, it is quick to move around Shang, and there are ways to speed it up with slides, minecarts, and geysers. As for the enemy types, I still don't like the Napalm or Shrieker zombies. Remember, this map is tight. Now you throw in two zombies that can heavily restrict where you move, and that's a poor recipe in my eyes. The Napalm zombie can cause you to be entirely blocked from your training route. If you leave it, it'll slowly keep walking to you and prevent your path. Kill it, and you may be too close and take major damage to then be dropped by your own train. Or you do take it out and it leaves a fire blocking your path. The Shrieker is more easily able to be dealt with, but if they disorient your screen, you could easily be down before you know what happened. The monkeys are also here, and they're generally not a huge deal. You can even use them to get a certain power up you're looking for. Them being small and hard to see can lead to you being blocked sometimes, which is a scary thing when a train is right behind you. Having the trap elements that block your movement is another choice that I find frustrating. I don't have time or space to mess around while I wait for things to clear, and if the sand pit sends me the wrong way, it could be a down or a big detour to get where I actually want it to go. Alternatively, in the sand pit, you could hop into the sand and you'd move slower than a dead fucking sloth, which will leave you as a dead fucking zombies player. All of these little things just lead to me not having a great time here, and to be honest, without the baby gun, I think this map would be hated so much more than it already is by some. This map looking good and having the baby gun is what keeps it relevant, not the gameplay, and that for me isn't enough to love it. Prior to the replays that I did, this map would have been so much further down the list, but I respect this map more now and I raise it a bit. Even if I don't personally enjoy it that much, I can recognize where it is good. Number 30, Moon. I apologize, Moon. I treated you too harshly. Moon was always in my eyes a bad map that I tried to avoid. I didn't like the layout, the excavators, or the low gravity. The astronaut was an annoyance for me, and I never much enjoyed my time playing Moon. Now that I've gone back and given it a fair shake, I am more than happy with it. It isn't my favorite map, but I understand why it is generally liked or loved, and it is a good map. The biggest negative that remains for me is the low gravity. Of course, it doesn't happen in every part of the map, but sometimes you need to be in an area that has low gravity for an Easter egg step or some other reason. Being in low gravity areas is constantly dangerous because without even jumping, you can be launched off the weird geometry and sent into a horde or a corner with no control. It leads to deaths that are frustrating to say the least. The part I am now neutral on, it's the excavators. I still am not a fan of the concept, but I no longer hate it either. Being able to prevent it is good, and usually you have enough time, but as you get further into the match, it will get harder and harder to stop. You'll likely end up letting it break through eventually and cause extra problematic low gravity areas. On top of that, if the tunnel excavators both come down, you can be locked on that side of the map, requiring you to gersh yourself, get hit by the astronaut, and lose a perk, or if it's Black Ops 3, use anywhere but here. I think a potential solution would be to let them be permanently stopped by choice, instead of having to stop them every time they try to activate every few rounds. You could also allow the player a method to repair the areas they break through. This could be a large point and or time investment to do, but if you want it done, you could then fix it and set that area back to controlled gravity and air. I'm sure this facility on the moon would have machines and material to repair the buildings, so the mechanic could be loading a machine with parts and then paying to activate it or something like that. As for what I thought were negatives but seeing a better light now, the layout of the map is decent aside from the excavator problem. There are a few ways to navigate where you need to go, and it usually doesn't take too long to get where you're going. The part of the layout that's hard to get over is felt any time you want to get Pack-a-Punch or Jug or Speed Cola. Going to the teleporter and down to the base, you can get Pack-a-Punch every time, but you can't ensure what perk will be there. If you need a Jug but Speed Cola spawned, then you have to go back to Griffin Station, wait for the teleporter to cool down, and eventually teleport again, and then you should have the right perk this time. That is a poor design and it can't be overlooked. The astronaut, I would every single day of the week rather see this astronaut over George from Call of the Dead. He is easy to kill, and while you don't get rewarded for it like George, the reason I kill George is to get him out of my way. The same thing with the astronaut. I want him gone, and it is easy to make it happen. And another benefit of the astronaut is if you do shoot him, he doesn't care at all. He just keeps moonwalking along. He's pretty negligible as an obstacle, and the only time he's truly frustrating is when he grabs you as soon as you round a corner or pass a door. Even that though, if you react fast enough, you can pull away from. The hacker is a very unique and fun idea for a zombies map that would be nice to see return in some capacity. Using it solo is pretty tough as it takes a while, but with co-op it's great. Your friend can hold the zombie for you, and you can hack away to your heart's desires. The Zap Gun Wave Gun combo is a great wonder weapon that is fun to use. Bloating zombies and then hearing them ding before popping, that's fun. And on top of being fun, it is a useful, powerful wonder weapon. This Easter egg is also good. Its steps aren't annoying, it is a good experience, and it moves along pretty quickly. Waiting for the excavator isn't ideal, but typically that doesn't take too long. Moon really set the stage for what zombies was going to be going into the future. It had a great set piece at the end, watching the earth explode because of your actions on the moon. That is something that went forward into zombies. Big set pieces that wow the players. Moon is a map that I have come to enjoy and understand its place within the zombies world. It may not be my favorite, but I respect the hell out of Moon now. Number 29 is Nuketown Zombies. Nuketown gets a lot of hate, mainly stemming from the random and slow perk arrivals. This is a unique mechanic and can at times be frustrating. For more experienced players, it won't be too difficult, but for newer players, potentially not getting Jug until something like round 20 is a very difficult proposition. I generally am not too bothered by this random drop cycle. I think it adds a unique flair to the map and a challenge for those seeking it. The biggest hangup with this concept is that unlike a map like Shinonuma, which also has random perks, Nuketown is all time based. You cannot make them come faster. You have to wait and hope you get the perk you want. Making the random perks time gated instead of point gated is a tough sell, and I believe this map would be more highly viewed if the perks randomly cycled in their locations upon opening doors. As fast as you can open doors is as fast as you get perks unlocked. Giving players more agency in their matches is great. Unfortunately, Nuketown does miss on that. Nuketown does not directly play into any story elements as it is a survival map. However, it happens alongside two different story elements, and it's interesting to see those from such an outside perspective. Marlton of the Victus crew is hiding in the bunker, and the events of Moon are happening while you play. At round 25, the zombies' eyes change from orange to blue. Samantha has lost control of the zombies now that Richtofen has taken her place inside the MPD. It adds just a little flavor to what would normally be a simple survival map. It still is a simple survival map, but there's a little bit more there. This is no perfect map at all, but it is fun, and I think it is a great survival map. Number 28 is Shinonuma from Vanguard. After being bullied for months, Treyarch was forced to step back and take time to make a round-based map for Vanguard. They cooked up a remake of Shinonuma that has become my favorite of the now 4 Shinonuma releases. Bearing in mind what I like in zombies, it comes as no surprise. This now offers a Shinonuma with a main quest and a boss fight. I don't mind the Vanguard mechanics when placed in a round-based setting. They aren't my favorite, but the foundational mechanics can work well, and they do here. One of the worst parts of Vanguard zombies as a whole is the shooty zombies, and for the most part they aren't around too much in this map, which is a thumbs up for me. They spawn a ton during the tome lockdown step, and that is awful, but outside of that one step, they're not that common. The Wonderwaff being here is of course fitting and a positive addition. This being the 4th run of Shinonuma, I can only rank it so high, but the addition of the Easter egg is great for me, even if the boss fight isn't the best. Number 27 is 5. 5 is a map I've never enjoyed much. I dreaded coming back to play it for this, and my first run went as expected. I was annoyed and got to round 9 where I died and was tempted to end my return to 5 there. I stuck around and went for it again. I made it further, and I had a good time when I went in with a better plan from the start. If you're a casual player, you simply won't enjoy yourself on a map like this. The part of 5 I have always held highly is the setting and characters. This is a fun concept, the intro cutscene is great, and I along with all my friends still quote it today. Playing as these characters gives great voice lines that spice up the entertainment. The environment and atmosphere gets slowly more sinister the further you progress deeper into the Pentagon, and that is well done by Treyarch. Getting Pack-a-Punch is not difficult. It is slightly annoying to have to hit the switches every time you want to pack, however, it's easy to do and a minor inconvenience. The Pentagon Thief used to be a part of this map that I hated, but now I've come to enjoy him as well. He is going to steal your gun, and you likely won't be able to stop that. However, if you plan correctly, you can have a proper backup weapon ready to chase him down and get your other gun back with. Once you figure out a system for yourself to make this happen, he becomes a great mini-boss to deal with instead of an annoyance. 5 may not be my favorite map to play, but I respect it more than I did previously. A great example of why I wanted to go back and play all the maps before ranking them, see if my opinion changed at all for better or worse. This would have been ranked much lower had I not replayed prior to making my rankings. Number 26, Moon from Black Ops 3. This is a wonderful remaster. This map was previously drab, gray, and frankly quite ugly. Here, there is some vibrancy, and no longer does the desolate gray moon seep into the facility. Here, where it should be gray, it makes sense, and where there should be more pop and color, there is. The labs are changed up a decent amount in this version and bring a different style than the completely sterile labs from the original. The hacker spawns once you learn them aren't too bad, but I strangely dislike these spawns a lot more compared to the original spawns. This Easter egg can now be done solo, which is a great change that I am all for. The unfortunate part is that in solo much more than co-op, this map suffers from the Revelations problem, which is being heavily dependent on the box and getting lucky. The Gersh and QEDs are hard to come by, and you need both to do this Easter egg. In co-op, if one person gets the Gersh devices and the other gets QEDs, then all is fine. But if you play solo and you get QEDs first, then you're going to have to get rid of them and spin until you get Gershes, and then do that step, which then you have to keep spinning again until you get the QEDs again. It's unfortunate that you need both equipments to get this done, and if only one was required, this wouldn't nearly be as much of an issue. Overall, this is a good remaster, specifically for looks, and the Easter egg being soloable is good, even if it has some drawbacks, you can at least do it now. Number 25 is Kino der Toten from Black Ops 3. This is Kino, but better. Kino has always been iconic, and there was nothing wrong with the original. I don't want this ranking to imply that. What this remaster does for Kino is small, but good. The map looked good, and now it looks better. The Black Ops 1 weapons of Kino were probably the single biggest gripe people may have, and here the arsenal is much better. Having access to Double Tap 2.0 makes your regular weapons stand a chance longer. Pair that with alternate ammo types with Double Pack, and now you've got weapons that can take you decently far. Of course, the Thunder Gun is still here and useful as always. The addition of Gobblegums allows for just another touch of things to do in Kino. This is a remaster with small changes that are good and welcomed. Number 24 is Origins from Black Ops 3. Origins was a great looking map in Black Ops 2. This version makes it positively beautiful. I know for these remasters I've brought up visuals every time, but that's one of the biggest changes to each map. Black Ops 3 is the best looking zombies game, and that means all of these maps are impeccable visually. Origins is a top tier map, and the remake is great. It isn't as high as the original because the remake really only did one thing to change how the map plays, and that change is generally viewed as a negative. The staff slotting glitch for the Easter egg is patched, and that makes the Easter egg more tedious to do as it now has to be done the intended way. It isn't a huge deal for me, but I agree that it takes away from the original experience of these Easter eggs and the speedruns. It's a good remaster of a great map. Number 23, Ascension. Ascension is most well known for its elite training spot. This location makes high round runs easy and approachable for a player who is maybe just stepping into the high round scene. In my past, I did not spend much time at all in this map, and I mainly chalked that up to the monkeys. However, on my return, I found that I was wrong about them. They aren't frustrating to deal with at all. They are quite easy to manage as long as you remember perk locations. You're given plenty of time to go around and stop them from stealing your perks. I played for 2 hours and 22 minutes and did not lose a single perk. I didn't get the bonus free perk, but I didn't lose any either, and those rounds were a fine change of pace from being in the same spot every round. It is a unique take on a special zombie round as they don't come after you much, you need to hunt them down instead. This makes one of my biggest reasons for avoiding the map completely void. Ascension introduces Stamina Up and PhD as new perks. Along with this is the first map to add the random perk power-up, gained by killing all monkeys before they touch a perk machine. It also adds in the Gersh device and Matryoshka dolls. This map on the surface is simple and it all links back to the training. It's in an easy spot, so I think this map gets written off as a purely simple and easy map. It may be easy, but it isn't necessarily simple. There's tons of innovation here to enjoy. One last thing about Ascension is a note to the community from me. Let me remind you again, Ascension introduced PhD, which means this map is the source for all of our pain for missing out on PhD in so many maps over the years. You have to blame Ascension for that. We wouldn't have come to love PhD if Ascension didn't introduce it, and the side effect of crippling heartbreak. Number 22, Tag der Toten. Tag is a reimagining of a classic in Call of the Dead. It expands the map in meaningful ways and comes with a new polish that makes it a great looking map. I'd find myself struggling to determine my exact feelings when it comes to this map. As a through and through Zombies fan, I can't help but feel incredibly let down by the complete lack of a final meaningful boss and the final cutscene not even being animated really feels like a slap in the face to fans. I know the situation around the game's development, so I understand that it wasn't intentional, but it sucks nonetheless. The story felt like it wasn't given a grand ending that it deserved, and instead it went out with a soft whimper, being put out of its misery like the Aether characters that made the story enjoyable. The gameplay this map offers is quite nice and can be enjoyed for many reasons. It brings in nostalgia, but there is so much change to the concept of Call of the Dead that I believe it works well and doesn't just feel like nostalgia bait. Having the Hermit be revealed as Pablo Marinez is one story element that I do enjoy from this map. The wonder weapons are nothing to write home about, being the Tundra Gun and the Sniper Wunderwaffe. The equipment being Sam's music box is sick. This is a piece of equipment that is entirely unique to this map. Being a part of Black Ops 4, you have to pack a punch your weapons 5 times to be fully powered up. And this is where Tag Toten strikes with another positive. The Golden Pack-a-Punch lets you max your weapon out with one hit at the price of a base single Pack-a-Punch. That is a perfect feature that I wish was more available in this game. However, it works really well in TOG with the lighthouse illuminating it, so at the same time I am glad that it's unique to this map. One last thing about the Golden Pack-a-Punch is that while you were there, the music playing is fire! It pumps you up to Pack-a-Punch. Oh. I can absolutely enjoy myself hopping in and playing this map just to see how far I can get. Where this map falters the hardest is with that Easter egg and boss fight as mentioned before. The Easter egg has some odd steps that aren't enjoyable for me. One reoccurring part is the dynamite. It is stupid that you have to rebuild this every time you need it, and therefore you need fire zombies and snowballs every time you need it. The wisps and campfire step being reused 3 times is boring. The device being pack-a-punch 5 times is repetitive and boring. That would be my biggest annoyance with this Easter egg. There are a lot of repeating steps followed by dialogue where you just sit around and wait. The pacing is not well done in my opinion. Even with all the negatives I just said, I do like this map, and I think part of that is that it's made a soft spot in me because it did close the story I was so invested in for so many years. I wish it were better, but considering the circumstances, I am happy with the final map of the Aether storyline. Number 21, Revelations. Revelations came in to close off Black Ops 3 and put a bow on the state of the zombie story. It hit on some things and missed on some others. Starting with what it got right, the single biggest thing Revelation got right was the map itself. Taking elements of maps we have seen in the past and mixing them all up to bring it all together in a massive interconnected space was so well done. This is a large map with lots of space and lots of traveling to do. They thankfully crafted this on islands, and each island can be jumped around the perimeter of the map. The center of the map also acts as a fast travel hub and connect to everything else. It's also based off of Nocturne and Toten right in the middle, which is beautiful based on how Zombies has come from there. I hear criticism that this is unoriginal, but I tend to disagree. Obviously, yes, it takes from other maps, but it's more inspired by them instead of just ripping them off. The layout is adjusted and morphed, and things are not simply one-to-one of what they came from. Where the story was going and building to here, it made this map feel like it fit right in and it made sense. This is a gorgeous, well-crafted map. It is also good for allowing for some easier high rounds to open the door for those wanting to get into high round runs. The weapon choices here are great, and that is a positive point. However, it can also be viewed as a negative point, so let's jump and start talking about the negatives of the map. There are a lot of weapons. Unfortunately, you need a few specific of these to do the Easter eggs. There are so many weapons in this box that your life may turn into a box spinning hellscape, just as it did in my run. I was trying to do the Easter egg. One of the first steps is to get little Arnies and use them inside of the Apothicon. I didn't get Arnies until after round 20, somewhere early in the 20s. This map is too dependent on the box. There needs to be some way to craft these, earn them, or force the box to spin the weapon you need. For whatever reason, it feels like there is a curse that the last map in a zombies game is just not going to be that good. I was hoping that this could be it. It had the best chance to take a game that was running very well in Black Ops 3 and end it well. This Easter egg and story fell very flat on that front. This Easter egg is simply tedious. It's way too tedious and doesn't feel climactic at the end at all. It isn't very enjoyable to complete, and it is pretty disappointing. Remember Shadows of Evil had a wimpy boss fight with the Shadow Man. It was more forgivable there as Treyarch hadn't yet shown the ability to craft a boss fight. That excuse is gone here, and they managed to do almost the same exact boss fight again, and it's not exciting again. This one is better than Shadows, there is more going on, but it isn't the boss that you're fighting. You aren't really fighting the Shadow Man. Yes, you shoot him at the end to finish him, but he isn't your threat in the room. It's just Margwas and dangerous floors. I don't know why they had the Shadow Man mechanics for the conclusion of this game. It isn't satisfying to do. Then, you finish it and the story closes out with Primus being sent back to the Great War to be the saviors there. The story ties up nicely, even if it isn't a grand, massive end like people expected. I will simply say that after doing this monster Easter egg, it feels underwhelming when you see this cutscene, at least in my opinion. Revelations is a great map to play, hop in, and have some fun. However, I think it lacks in the Easter egg side, and mainly for that reason, it falls down the list from where it could have been. Number 20, Ascension from Black Ops 3. Ascension is a great map to remaster and bring to Black Ops 3. A simple, easy, high-round map in a game full of complex, difficult maps. Previously in Black Ops 1, the complaint for this map was the monkeys. Now that we have access to Gobblegums, that problem can be negated by spawning yourself a nuke. Take away the biggest complaint of the map, and it leaves us with a great survival map that is, of course, incredible to look at in this Black Ops 3 engine. Number 19 is Voyage of Despair. This is the map where I spent the most collective time playing. Across my multiple runs, I ended up spending 5 hours and 51 minutes just playing Voyage of Despair. This is the kind of map that I always wanted. I wanted a map on the Titanic. I remember talking about it during Black Ops 2. I think I took the concept too literally, and so did Treyarch. This tight condensed mess makes for mostly obnoxious traversal. Getting set up on this map doesn't take too much time, and then you're left to focus on the Easter egg. First looking at the steps makes it seem like it's going to be tedious and difficult, but for the most part, it's pretty neat once you wrap your head around it. Back to my first point about this map, it is a clunky layout at best. That is one of the largest drawbacks to it. Eventually you'll be able to find your way around, however it is a slow learning curve, and even when you do know where you're going, it's slow to get where you want. Don't worry though, while you go to your destination, a ridiculous amount of Catalyst zombies, Stokers, and Blightfathers will spawn to mess you up. Most of these steps require a lot of running around the map, so get used to using those legs. In defense of this map, this Easter egg can be fun, and the boss battle is one of the most Destiny raid-like and fun that Zombies has to offer. The Kraken is also a decent wonder weapon. For the Easter egg, I get the gas version, but will quickly swap back to the base Kraken and pack-a-punch that as it's my favorite for its simplicity. Plus, it not splash damaging you is a helpful aspect to it. The planet step is a great concept for an Easter egg step, and it is really fun. Gunning down your own solar system from the skybox, it's a great time, and right after that you get to take on the boss. This boss fight is tough and totally awesome. Having multiple stages and different tasks to pay attention to while carefully managing your ammo, abilities, positioning, and damaging the boss at the correct times makes for a hectic boss fight. It is intense, but if you know what to do when you approach it, you can make it through in due time. A boss having a wipe mechanic doesn't happen much in Zombies, and when it does, it just adds to the fight in great ways. If it weren't for this map being poorly laid out and tight, this would be a much more widely enjoyed map, I feel. For me, it is worth it just for challenging that boss fight. Number 18, Buried. Buried is a map that finally felt right with our Victus crew. This western town that got thrown underground has so much charm to it that you can't help but love it. Buried brought along with it many new concepts that were executed mostly great. We are so used to wall guns being in chalk lines that are already there, and Buried plays with that a little bit. Some of the guns aren't yet drawn out. We have to grab the template and bring it to a location where it can be drawn and do as such. This means you have some choice in where weapons are available for purchase. Beyond that, when you do draw it, you're given points for doing so. This isn't the only thing you're gifted points for though. Now it's time for our friend, Leroy! He is one of a kind, and I am torn on whether I want him or a character like him to return in the future. He is so helpful and a great addition to the map. Let's see what he all does. He will help you open the map, you give him some booze and watch him Hulk smash a barricade for you. And guess what? You get points when he does it. Not only do you get points for doing it, the value changes based on how far he traveled to open said barricade. This resulted in people trying to snipe barricades with him to maximize points, which is an incredibly fun little thing to mess around with. Alright, well, he can also make the mystery box stay in one spot, which is amazing, and I love him for that. It's the first thing I do every time I load into Buried. He is also able to pick up crawlers for you and hold on to them, so if it's the end of the round and you want to do some Easter egg steps without being bothered, hand them over to Papa Leroy and he will carry them for a while. He can get you buildables as well, which is really helpful because you can bring him to a table, he'll figure out what it is, he'll go collect everything instead of you having to do the parts one at a time. Another thing he can do is cry. If you shoot him by accident, he'll go run and hide. Is this a big man or just a big baby bitch in disguise? Man up, Leroy. That bullet wound, 'tis but a scratch. Now we have the map open, wall weapons available, and our main man Leroy is strolling. What else is there to do? We could go hit the box a bunch since it won't move, and we could find one of the new 3 wonder weapons or equipment. The ray gun Mark II, the paralyzer, and the time bomb are added with Buried, and all are great. The ray gun Mark II is a great way to evolve the ray gun we always had. This is lethal, and this time only to the zombies. You are safe from yourself while using this, and it feels great to use. The paralyzer is one of the most unique wonder weapons they've ever added. Infinite ammo done right. I'm looking at you, jet gun. The paralyzer puts out a slowing field that also damages the zombies within it slowly. It isn't incredibly lethal by any means, but it is useful. You can fly with the paralyzer. When else have we been able to say that in zombies? It is wacky and useful. In co-op, it is also a great tool for camping. One person slowly bursts the paralyzer and slows incoming zombies, while someone else is able to gun down the slowed horde. The last major addition is the time bomb equipment. This device can be placed, and when it goes down, it saves that moment in time until you call upon it. Once activated, the match rewinds to that point in time it was originally placed. This is used as part of the Easter egg, and outside of that, it can be used to restore a player's perks if they go down, which is great for more novice players. Buried also added a new perk, Vulture Aid, and this is one of my favorite perks. It is fun to use and very useful. You can see where perks, the mystery box, and Pack-a-Punch are located through walls. Unfortunately, on this map, it isn't very useful because these things don't move in this map. But Vulture Aid also has 3 other main functions that are useful. With Vulture Aid, zombies can drop small point pouches for a few extra points. They will also drop some ammo, which can be picked up to keep you gunning for longer. The best part is the stinky zombies that leave you a green stink bubble to sit in. When you sit in these, zombies ignore you. Vulture Aid is one of the best perks ever added to zombies, and it kills me that we never see it outside of this. Alright, one last thing about what Buried added and we can move on. The witches. They are creepy, and I still get anxious going into that mansion to this day. And I know all their spawns. It's been years since a witch has taken my points, and they still get me a little nervous. That is a great mechanic right there. And to top it off, they will give you a free perk when you make it through and kill them all. Plus, the story for their existence is a great nugget of storytelling. Buried is a novice-friendly map. It has plenty of deeper features still, but for casual players, this is a relatively approachable map while also allowing them to see where zombies can get more complex, potentially leading them to try harder maps or Easter eggs later. Players have the ability to do some training if that's how they like to take out zombies, or they can use the mini buildables to camp for an easier time. This Easter egg is quite good and has a final step that gets everyone involved and on the edge of their seats. The sharpshooter step is difficult, especially your first times through it, and it is a great climax to this Easter egg based in a western town. I have a lot of respect for Buried, and I think it is a great map. Number 17, Der Riese. The moment that zombies took its most familiar identity was here in Der Riese. There is story hidden about, characters advancing the story through their remarks, zombies to kill, perks to buy, and weapons to pack-a-punch. This truly laid the foundation for all zombies into the future, and it's a great time to play. It allowed for camping strategies on the catwalk, and for more advanced players to train in some of the other areas of the map. Being able to, for the first time, experience Pack-a-Punch still feels special on this map specifically, knowing that it was the first time this mechanic existed, and it has never gone away, only evolved. This is a classic map that earns its place on this list. Number 16, Call of the Dead. Michael Rooker, Danny Trejo, Robert Englund, Sarah Michelle Gellar, George Romero. You see these legends in the intro, and you know you're in for a fun time. Dumped off into a harsh tundra landscape, you are immediately met by your former director George, who we will come back to in a minute. The new freezing water mechanic makes sense obviously, and is for the most part a non-issue. The most annoying part is how incredibly slow you move in the water, and there are too many water spots in this map for the level of slowness to be acceptable. If you plan to pass through water for a perk or pack-a-punch, you'll want to plan a few business days in advance so you can ensure only one zombie is following you. Let's finish being negative by talking about George. His following you wouldn't be as big of a problem if it weren't for his enrage mechanic. All you want to do is train zombies and then gun them down. He makes that tedious. You need to plan your shots to avoid him and prevent him from chasing you or stunning you with his electric attack. If you plan to kill him to alleviate his presence, then you will need serious firepower because he is just built different. If you manage to topple him, you're rewarded with a death machine and a free perk. There is a good reward for taking him out. Being free of him is not the only rewards though. Shortly after, he will return and you'll be back to square one. However, if you kill him again, you get a Wonder Waff, which is a good way to spice it up. The layout for Call of the Dead is very good. It links together pretty smoothly and has some fast travel options for you to bounce around. The Easter egg is like most Black Ops 1 Easter eggs, simple and fun. Call of the Dead also adds 2 new wonder weapons, the Scavenger and the thing we don't fucking talk about. The Scavenger is awesome, sound design is peak, and it is incredibly lethal, until high rounds. But until that point, it is great and remains as a great wonder weapon to this day. The training spot is good here for those wanting high round runs, and the weather effects help keep the visuals changing and interesting. This map is beloved by many members of this community, so much so that after years of dedication, a round 100 run was finally made for the first time this year, 13 years after the original release. Call of the Dead offers a fun layout, fun high round potential, fun wonder weapons, and a fun Easter egg, all wrapped in a frozen iconic lighthouse landscape. Number 15, Mauer der Toten. Mauer is a fantastic map that has plenty to offer its players. The dark, ruined city setting is a great atmosphere, and it's improved by the movement between and through all of the buildings. Using ziplines or running between them makes for a fast-feeling map with how much you need to move around to get the map open or complete the Easter egg. The first time entering the subway system and seeing them whip by makes for a nerve-wracking experience anytime you're playing near the tracks. Klaus is a big part of this map, and his quippy, annoyed attitude adds some life to this map and to Cold War that was desperately needed. You have a few steps to get yourself the wonder weapon for free, and those are mostly fine. However, I knocked Shadow Throne for it, so I have to do the same thing here. Having the player completely stop moving to activate the safe combination is annoying, and the zombies ignoring you during this is finicky, at least for me, so I can't totally rely on it during this step. Making players stop moving to do things they want or need is a real trend of the overall Cold War systems that I have a major issue with. Where Treyarch improved this safe idea is in 3 ways. 1. The dials can be moved quickly on keyboard and mouse or on controller. 2. The dial progress is saved if you step away from it. 3. The dial spin once for each number that passes instead of free spinning that may overshoot or undershoot your target. This will lock directly on what number you need to make it much easier to input this code. Enough about the code though. It's time to use the Cerberus wonder weapon. This is an impeccable wonder weapon and even has variations to it. This is a unique wonder weapon where the other versions of it will drop on the ground for you to pick up. Once that runs out of ammo, it reverts back to the base form. The base form is probably the best, but the laser and disc versions are both great as well. This thing is powerful and fun to use. Definitely the best designed wonder weapon of Cold War zombies. The Tormentors, Disciples, and Crancy Soldat were added with Mauer der Toten. This makes for likely the map's biggest flaw. The Crancy Soldat is a fine addition, being a variation of the Panzer, but the other 2 are rough. The Tormentors are fast and blow up in your face. They're the new dog round here and are fine in that round, but when they appear in other rounds, or specifically in large numbers during the boss fight, they get pretty annoying. The Disciple is not much better. He flies around and buffs other zombies to come at you faster and attack faster. He also will do a persistent drain attack if unchecked. The Disciple is not awful in my eyes, but I could absolutely do without. The Easter egg for this map is simple, just like other Cold War Easter eggs, but it does have a cool part where you can stop the subway with Klaus. Not even GTA dared let its players stop the train or subways. Overall, Mauer der Toten offers an enjoyable experience that deserves credit. Number 14 is the Giant. The Giant was the simple map at release for Black Ops 3. It fits in really well to the main releases of Black Ops 3 and serves its purpose perfectly. For those who want an easier time to shoot zombies and chill, this is great for them. Even for the more hardcore fans, this offers some new steps and Easter eggs that are fun as well, and it drives the zombies narrative forward through this map as well. This map is gorgeous and easily the best looking Der Riese has ever been. This map is a great time and a great survival map with just a little extra flair to make it more interesting. Number 13, Zetsubo no Shima. Zetsubo was the map of Black Ops 3 I always had a harder time connecting with. I understand this map better now the more time I've spent with it, and while it doesn't top many other maps of Black Ops 3, it certainly rose in these rankings from where it would have been in the past. Let's put out the negatives first that hold this one back for me, in no particular order. Having the spiders block pathways is an annoyance that you can't do much about. Sometimes they will do it in areas you aren't currently at, and when you go to that area, it can cause issues of you not knowing your path will be blocked. Being able to shoot them with the KT-4 is good, but I also don't want to waste my ammo. There are a ton of thrashers constantly bothering you. These aren't very fun to deal with, and the quantity of them does not help that. Making this Easter egg force a gobblegum is a poor idea. Thankfully, it is a classic, but it is still annoying that a slot goes to anywhere but here every time you plan to do the Easter egg. Building the KT-4 does not take much, and neither does upgrading it, but that underwater plant is tedious and can be a source of frustration if you're unlucky with round changes. The final boss not being an actual boss is a letdown, especially comparing it to what came right before and after it. It is still an intense fight, thankfully, due to the thrashers and tight space. Now for the stuff I like that helps this map. The atmosphere here is perfectly done. You feel despair being on this dark, desolate map. The layout is decent, it isn't my favorite, but you can get where you want at an acceptable speed. The wonder weapon is great and is specifically helpful for the thrashers, of which there are many. The Skull of Non-Stopway is a great special weapon design that fits right in with this map, and it's very helpful, one of the best specialists out there. The spider mini boss fight is a fun way to introduce a new perk. It isn't a very tough battle, but your first time going down there, it is unexpected and thrilling. The Easter egg is not too complex, but it will take a healthy amount of time to get done. Really all it is open the map, get the buildables, and then get 3 cogs before the boss. It isn't very exciting, but I think it does enough to be a competent Easter egg on this map. The story is also quite interesting as this is Takio's map, so he gets extra development which he needed more than any of the other characters. Zetsubo takes time to warm up to, but if given a fair chance, it can show you why it's deserving to be in with the incredible Black Ops 3 catalog. Number 12 is Rave in the Redwoods. Rave is a delight that I did not see coming. I remembered almost nothing about this map and wasn't excited about coming back to it. Not because I thought it was bad, but because it seemed forgettable. Perhaps in the grand scheme of things it has been forgotten a bit, but I wish that wasn't the case. Rave has an amazing setting, and the name gives that away, of course. You are fighting the undead at a rave. This map looks amazing, and the setting of bouncing around different sections of this campground is awesome. You really feel the aesthetic of this map and the concept of it everywhere, but no place do you feel it more than when you enter rave mode. This illuminates everything with blacklight, and the colors here are insane in a zombies map, and it simply looks incredible. It has become one of my favorite looks a zombies map has ever gone for, and just when you think things are getting a little too jolly, you feel as if you're thrown into a Friday the 13th film as the slasher is coming to annihilate you. His spawning chainsaw sound instantly alerts you and puts you on edge. He is also illuminated in the blacklight glow, and don't let the happy colors fool you. This guy will make you cry in the blink of an eye. He is fast and potent. He can take you out in one hit, and even if he doesn't, he will bring you to one hit, leaving you vulnerable to any zombies that snuck up on you while you focused on the slasher. This is a fantastic mini-boss that suits the map so well. The wonder weapon of the map is a crossbow that can be upgraded into different versions. I enjoy the acid one. It is really strong and gets the job done in a unique way with acid rain taking out the zombies. Getting pack-a-punch is a simple enough process, but what you find on the island is quite fun as well. Kevin Smith makes a guest appearance in this map, which works so well again. He makes the dynamic of this map even more fun. Now with the map open, you can do the Easter egg, which is only a few steps, but they will test you. 3 trials that have different requirements, and each one ends with a slasher that you have to take down on a time limit. These can be challenging, but if you ensure that you are equipped properly, they shouldn't cause much trouble at all. Once completed, it is time for a boss fight with none other than the guest star Kevin Smith himself. This is a wonderfully designed boss fight that gives different dynamics that keep you working the whole time. You have to take out large groups of zombies in 2 spots to light a beacon, then lead the boss into that beacon to weaken him. Now you have to take out the runes as they appear on the boss. Once done, he will retreat, and now you get a few moments to breathe while he does a wipe mechanic and you sit in a safe spot until it's over. Repeat this process 2 more times, and now you can finally throw everything you have at the boss to take him down. This is a great design for a boss fight, especially when in zombies, and I give great props to Infinity Ward for this, especially because they aren't typically zombies devs, and yet they pull this off. Raven the Redwoods is an incredible map that I feel may be underappreciated, but I am here to give it its much deserved flowers. Number 11, Dead of the Night. Dead of the Night is a marathon of a map. It is hard to play this map casually, and that is a major turnoff for many players. Depending on my mood, it can easily prevent me from wanting to play. Sometimes you just want to kill zombies, and this isn't totally the map for that. This map came out of nowhere, and is jammed full of things to do, and one of the longest Easter eggs out there. The spacing of this map is serviceable, slightly tight, but there is enough wiggle room so it works. The style of this map is wonderful, and it looks great. The Wonder Weapon is one of the best in zombies. It may be random, but when every type of shot is really good, it doesn't matter that it's random. There are many enemies to manage here, with the standard Catalyst zombies of course being here. You're also faced with vampires and werewolves and Blightfathers. The vampires are mostly annoying and I could do without. However, they aren't the worst, and at least thematically they fit right in. The werewolves are menacing, but are actually decently manageable, especially with the addition of the silver bullet mechanic. I railed Blood of the Dead for being a long, tedious Easter egg, and that is because those steps were annoying. I do not get that same feeling here, and the best part is that while this Easter egg is long, it is constantly moving forward. There isn't much waiting around or forcing rounds to progress. You finish steps and can roll right into the next one to keep moving forward. That progression makes for this mega Easter egg not feeling as long in the moment. Before I talk about the boss fight, I'd like to add in the largest negative of this map, and it is infamous. The characters here are either completely forgettable or downright annoying. In the zombies community, this is well known, and aside from the depth of the map, the characters are the other well-known issue this map has. Looking at the boss fight to close this, it's a well-sized arena, and side note, really feels like it would fit right into a Dead Ops arcade map. The mechanics are interesting. Facing off against an invisible werewolf, you must reveal it and attack it in a small window of time. 3 stages to this boss, and if you pull it off, congratulations, you get the final cutscene, which reveals the timeline is off. This map takes place before the other Chaos maps we have played up to this point, and shows how our main Chaos characters are going to ultimately meet. Yet another note on why I wish Chaos was given a chance to shine. I know this placement will have been controversial most likely, but I do believe this is a great map if you're looking for depth, and it fits in with how I want to enjoy maps. With that, it's time to get into the top 10. Starting off our top 10 is D Machine. My thoughts on D Machine haven't changed much since launch. I thoroughly enjoyed this map then, and I still do now. It came in when zombies needed it most and offered us its hand to pick us up from the depths of misery. It's a mostly bright map outside of the bunker that popped with color and a style that wasn't often seen in zombies. This is a simple map in nearly every aspect, but it is done very well and offers many different experiences. Casual fans can hop in and just take out some zombies. High round chasers can go for some wild high round numbers never before seen. Easter egg players have an Easter egg to do, and speedrunners have an Easter egg to dash through. For the first time, I became all of these players in one map. I jumped in and played the map for fun for a while before I deepened it and added the Easter egg. After that, I went to speedrun the Easter egg and was able to do some decent times, all while learning new shortcuts and methods and comparing with other runners. I then took on a high round run with a friend of mine, shout out Matete, and like many, got to a higher round than ever before. The map uses Nocturne and Toten as a base to allow for a familiar start before it branches off and becomes its own map. The dark depths of the bunker are quite eerie the first time you play this map, especially after coming from the bright skies above. Being thrust into the dark with only a flashlight, it's a tense moment. D Machine also introduces the dark ether landscapes, and that is a beautiful luminescent purple. It brings a unique look to zombies that is very welcome. In this map, you are faced with Plaguehounds, which is what happens when a Hellhound and a Nova 6 crawler get freaky. You are also faced with Megatons, which are one of the best mini-bosses in zombies. They are large and lumbering. When you defeat it, it turns out you're only partway there as it splits into 2 halves that now attack you. Finally, upon taking out the 2 halves, the Megaton is dealt with. The Wonder Weapon is the Die Machine, which is a funny way to name your Wonder Weapon just like the map, and it is a potent weapon itself. In order to use the primary blast of the Die Machine, you have to suck off... I meant suck up zombies. The upgrades are simple to do, and then you'll find yourself wanting the electric version because it is the strongest, in my opinion, outside of the base, which is very strong. This Easter egg, it's decent. Not the most exciting, I know, but I feel it does its job well. This map has a top-to-bottom well-crafted experience. When people critique this map, they are truthfully critiquing Cold War as a whole more than this map specifically. It's too easy is a Cold War issue. The simple Easter egg is a Cold War issue. The point system is a Cold War issue. The loadout system, that's a Cold War issue, etc., etc. It goes on and on. All of these are valid complaints to air out in their own right, however, I don't see them as detracting from what this map is. D Machine still shines in these Cold War systems more than any other map, and placing it in another game could improve it. But even with what some may call flaws, this map has a great experience to offer, and I feel it gets written off too quickly by people who simply don't like Cold War zombies as a whole. Take it from me, I'm very critical of a lot of the Cold War systems. I think a lot of them are counterintuitive to fun and zombies, but I do love this map and all that it offers, and it starts off our top 10. Number 9 is Zombies in Spaceland. We have arrived at the highest Infinity Ward made map on this list. This map was the release map for Infinite Warfare, and it is a great showing to prove that it is possible for other developers to make great zombies maps, uncommon as it may be. This map knew exactly what it wanted to be, and it hit on every level across the board. Retro theme park overrun by zombies works so well for this type of game mode, and Infinity Ward knocked it out of the park. The intro cinematic gets you into the correct headspace to understand the vibe this map is going for, and it rides that wave the whole way to the finish. The playable characters are all unique and play together well as a group. This map has Hoff as well, which is a suiting addition, and having him as a DJ is another point of good fun. This theme park is beautiful and haunting at times. Simply going around and exploring is fun, and this map is actually quite large, much bigger than I recalled, and getting around can take some time. The perk selection is great, and being able to have 5 is also a welcome addition. One of the larger drawbacks to this map is sadly the weapons. They aren't very good and won't be able to carry you very far. It is unfortunate how underpowered the player is made to feel at most times, which is even more evident in the boss fight, which we will discuss at the end of this. The wonder weapons of Spaceland are fun variations of laser pistols that all work slightly different and are great for this map. It is also nice that they aren't too easy or too difficult to get, a nice happy medium. Again, the downside is they can't be upgraded and quickly burn through ammo to keep dropping zombies. This Easter egg is hardly an Easter egg, to be honest. It really is just the smallest foreplay before a boss fight. Make the Sadicom, defend it 3 times, which can be horrendous remembering your weapons suck and for some reason drops are so hard to come by, which means getting max ammos or any useful drop may take a long time, but after the 3 defenses, you're basically ready to take on the alien boss already. And this boss is a no-good, super-powered, egotistical, maniacal motherfucker. Sorry about that. Anyway, he is strong, and you will likely get demolished many times before you pull this off. If you think bringing friends will help you, then think again, because for every friend you bring, you've got another alien to tussle with. This is a brutal boss fight, and there is no way around it. Surviving is difficult, and even managing to do enough damage to the boss, that is a feat. If you pull this off, it is a rewarding fight that will leave you feeling like you took down a Dark Souls boss. Spaceland is a delight to play, and it deserves recognition for its strength, especially with it being a non-Treyarch made map.
Our contender petitions are gone. Will they satisfy?
Number 8 is 9. I know we were so close to getting 9 is 9, but I couldn't do it. I feel like it edged out Spaceland, and so it ended up at 8. I feel like 9 became the feature map for Black Ops 4 for many players, myself included. It offered a unique map with intrigue to the story, and it allowed for a great time when fighting the undead. This was probably the closest thing to a casual map that Black Ops 4 had, aside from Classified, but that was a remake, and I don't know if it got as much attention as 9 might have. There were a few basic things to do, like getting the shield, getting the wonder weapon, and doing a very simple challenge to open Pack-a-Punch. This makes it approachable to get set up, and as well, it has some good spots to train. This made it different from the other release maps that were filled with tighter spaces and much more complexity. The biggest pitfall this map faces is the sheer amount of enemy types you will face at any given moment, much like many Black Ops 4 maps in the Chaos line. All of the Catalyst zombies, Tigers, Brawlers, Gladiators, and Blightfathers, all of these are oftentimes oppressive and overwhelming. Going for the Easter egg leaves you having to appease the 4 gods of the map by doing their trials. In this Easter egg, I unfortunately often encounter bugs that prevent or majorly stall my progress through it. Going beyond that, when the steps actually work, they are fun and often intense. The raw challenge is tough. Having to be so selective in what you kill first is a tough challenge, but it isn't too much to handle. It's really well done. The standoff at the end of the Zeus challenge is chaotic fun. Getting to the boss fight, you can really stretch your legs in a massive arena as you take down 2 elephant challengers. This boss fight is great fun. It really isn't the hardest one out there, but fighting these massive elephants with gladiators and brawlers chasing you the whole time is marvelous. 9 is one of those maps to really show the great potential that Chaos could offer to both casual fans and the hardcore fanbase who want a challenge. Number 7 is the Final Reich. This is the map that I spent the most time in a single playthrough that wasn't Outbreak. I spent 2 hours and 54 minutes, and that was going beyond the Easter egg just because I was having a good time. I kept playing after. The Final Reich is a phenomenal map, and it showed the potential of what Sledgehammer could do with World War II zombies. Unfortunately for all of us, their first attempt in World War II was their best, and it isn't even close. They really dropped the ball with every other main map of theirs, but let's not worry about that. Let's instead enjoy this great map. The setting for this map is classic in terms of zombies, a town mixed into a secret underground facility where experiments have been taking place leading to the current zombie outbreak. The style of World War II was about the horror, and it works great here in this map. The enemies you face are varied and all create different issues for you. Aside from the standard zombies, you face pests, which are essentially the dogs for this map. Fast, low health, mostly easy to manage. The bombers are strapped with a bomb, which can be detonated off their back, or after they are eliminated, it can be detonated from the ground. There is a variant of this bomber which is a treasure zombie. It drops points as it walks, and if you manage to kill it, it will drop you even more points. Of course, the brutes are here, and they come usually 1 to 3 of them per round as you get further in. Accounting for 2 hits of damage and being tanky makes them difficult to deal with, but fair. Having them charge after damaging them is another aspect to their challenge. The Brenner is the last main zombie type, and they are a tanky flamethrower wielding menace. They're unrelenting and require you to avoid them and their flames. They don't do a ton of damage, but letting them on you too long could cloud your vision and get you in danger without seeing it coming. All of these zombies fit in and work perfectly in this map. The wonder weapon, which is the Tesla gun, is good. Its base form is a little janky, but when the hit reg works, it is great. Upgrading it is somewhere between easy and hard depending on which one you do. Mostly these just take a lot of time. I would say that these upgrades are worth it though, especially the electric version. The thing is insane. This wonder weapon, in all of its forms, they are great for the map. This quest was a start for zombies and having it be guided. There is the option to do the hardcore version, but for those who want to experience the Easter egg and story, they offer a simpler and guided form. This video is being made as Black Ops 6 is getting revealed, and we just discovered that Black Ops 6 will have a system much like this, so trace those roots back to World War II. The Easter egg is heavily involved in just opening the map and getting the base wonder weapon. There isn't a ton to do after that, and then you'll be at the boss fight. This boss, the Panzer Mortar, is a monster mashup of many zombies creating this massive beast. He lumbers around the map, and you have to gather batteries, stun the boss, and attach them to the Panzer Mortar. This isn't a difficult boss fight, but it's fun, and this boss is great to look at in a horrible, horrifying, ugly, awful way. I enjoy every part of this map and truly believe it offers a fantastic experience that makes it belong right near the top. Number 6 is Ancient Evil. This is actually the map where I had the most kills outside of Dead Ops Arcade at 3,436 cumulative across my few runs. Ancient Evil is the Chaos Story's magnum opus and also its sad death. I find myself wishing that the Chaos Story was able to continue. The setting and the playing with the mythology is interesting to me, and I wish we were able to see how this was supposed to go. As it stands, we got an incomplete end, which is still a fantastic map on its own. Ancient Evil lies in a Greek city and also travels into the underworld. This is a great setting, and the look of it is grand. The items you can get include the Pegasus Strike, the shield, which is a gladiator shield with a throwable spear, and the 4 gauntlets. The Pegasus Strike is a new version of monkeys where you summon Pegasus and attract zombies in to be wiped out by the mythical horse. This is a strong piece of equipment, and its only downside is how long it takes to deploy. It can lead to trouble, especially because it forces you to be stationary while deploying. The shield is fun, strong, and it fits this setting perfectly. The wonder weapons are really good and follow the 4-element archetype. The gauntlets all offer varied playstyles and are relatively easy to upgrade, which makes getting all of them quite nice. I am a huge fan of these gauntlets. They are by no means the best wonder weapons available, but they are strong and hold their own. The introduction of skeletons shakes up the gameplay, requiring headshots to be taken out fully. The new mini-boss Spartans are once again perfect in this setting. They have a stun, ranged attack, and a melee attack. They have a ton of health and will just require a lot of time to take down. They're not going to be too troublesome aside from lowering your ammo reserves. Playing an Ancient Evil is a wonderful experience and it shows off Black Ops 4 in a great way. In fact, the best way, as it's my highest ranked Black Ops 4 map. The Easter egg for this map requires all 4 gauntlets for different steps, and I believe this to be a well-made Easter egg. There are many small steps that don't take too much trouble to get. I'd say the biggest annoyance is getting electric zombies to step on the plate. You've got to manage the rest of the horde and you're trying to get these dials active and it's just kind of a mess. Once this Easter egg is completed up to the boss fight, you are given a cutscene which drives the story further towards an end we will never see. The boss arena is 3 islands circling the boss in the middle. First, you have to deal with Pegasus by shooting them down and damaging them with your special weapons. I generally don't enjoy being forced to use my specialist on the boss. Once that is dealt with though, you face the true final boss. I don't really enjoy this phase of the fight very much. You are now locked onto one island doing a similar process to the Pegasus part. When the boss comes down to your island, you have to stun him and then damage him while he's down. The window to do damage in the stun is very short and often means you don't get much damage done at all. I think it just becomes a little tedious. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I think it could be better. The closing cutscene leaves many questions and intrigue about the introduction of Medusa to the story. I thoroughly enjoy Ancient Evil, and I'm happy that Chaos was at least allowed to die on a good note, even if it wasn't the intended end. Starting off the top 5 is Shadows of Evil. Shadows of Evil is now considered one of the greatest maps, if not the greatest map to ever come to zombies. I hold it very highly, but not as my number 1, and that isn't meant to be a jab at Shadows in any way. This is a remarkable map, and here at the top of these rankings, these maps are all the best that Zombies has to offer. For me, this map has never connected as the most enjoyable map, but it is packed with incredible aspects that make it such a formidable map in the catalog. This is where the zombie storyline really started to branch into some of the more wild territory, and that is territory that I do enjoy. We have Apothicons and Squid Creatures and the Shadow Man versus Dr. Monty, and all of it is a departure from what Zombies was. This was a major risk to have as a launch map to Black Ops 3, and over time it has been realized what a great move this was. The trailer for this map created so much intrigue and excitement, which was all enhanced when the intro cinematic came later. This map is beautiful, and it later becomes beautiful in a frightening way. After unlocking Pack-a-Punch, the skybox changes to have a massive squid creature overhead looming in a creepy way. The visuals of this map are unique, of the correct time, and are the best stylized visuals of any Zombies map. On the gameplay side of the map, Beast Mode is the new take on Afterlife, and it is an improvement. There is more to do with Beast Mode, and when you're done, you don't have to factor in coming back to your body to revive yourself. That was one drawback of Afterlife, and it was addressed nicely here. The only part of Beast Mode that may be considered a downside to some is that you don't go into Beast Mode when you down. This means you will always have a true down, whereas in Mob, you could get a free down every single round, and in theory have infinite downs. Beast Mode is fun to use between busting open boxes, zapping power boxes, and grappling across the map. It is a great mechanic. It has even been used for some mind-bending speedrun strategies that are not something that I personally partake in, but it has always been incredible fun watching Noah's brain melt from his ears every time the record was broken with a new Beast Mode strategy. For what you can build in this map, you've got the Rocket Shield and the Apothicon Servant, and you've done all the building you need, which is short and to the point. Getting your Pack-a-Punch is done through the 4 rituals relating to each character. Speaking of characters, I have these as my number 2 side crew from Zombies. They are interesting and each have their own motivations, which landed them at the center of this plot. The Easter egg for this map is decent. It felt as if Treyarch took most of their time making the aesthetics and other mechanics of this map, and were unfortunately on crunch time to make the Easter egg. Open Pack-a-Punch, get the sword, upgrade the sword, defend the flag, shoot the teleporting Shadow Man, and then run the tram into the big worm. There are only 3 steps that a player truly has to do that are Easter egg specific. Many players will get all the way up to getting the sword or even upgrading it just for a regular run with this map, as the specialist weapon is so helpful. Getting to that point doesn't really take very long at all. The boss fight, if you can even call it that, is lackluster as well. It is a good enough Easter egg, and I am happier to have a simple Easter egg than one that is needlessly overcomplicated. Through playing the map and doing the Easter egg, if you go that route, you will constantly run into Margwas on your way. These guys are a great mini-boss for Zombies, and are probably the best ones at that. They are thematically perfect. They are menacing and can be trouble, but if you know what you're doing, they are also totally manageable. These guys really tie the whole map into a nice bow and make everything feel complete. Shadows is a treat to have in the Zombies catalog, and without it, Zombies wouldn't have made such a leap in popularity, even if it took the community a long time to realize that.
A true Russian never surrenders.
Number 4 is Gorod Krovi. Gorod Krovi is one of, if not the most epic maps that Zombies has ever made. This map has scale, presence, and a fat set of nuts. Gorod follows the path of Black Ops 3 and is about retrieving the last ultimate soul, that of Nikolai. Set in a war-torn Stalingrad, we are immediately introduced to the bosses of this map. Mech Suit Nikolai and mo fucking dragons. Having dragons in a Zombies map as the centerpiece of that map is something I never would have expected, and it is still an incredible concept to this day. The dragons are involved in every aspect of this map. If you want Pack-a-Punch, you ride a dragon. If you use a dragon strike, you command a dragon to, well, strike. And if you want the specialist weapon, then you're going to use the Gauntlet of Siegfried, which is a dragon whelp. Getting the specialist weapon requires you to incubate a dragon egg as well. Oh, and getting ahead of myself a little bit, the first final boss of the map is a dragon as well. This map actually isn't massive. It is relatively quick to get around, however its layout and use of space allows it to feel larger than it is and allows the dragons to fit in well with the scale. The dragons do cut off parts of the map, but only for a very short amount of time. Crazy that Treyarch took an idea from Infection of all maps, but they did it right. Gorod brought in some new box weapons, and these are hits. The Raygun Mark III is a great way to evolve the Raygun yet again. It is a great weapon in design and function. This Easter egg mainly revolves around 6 challenges of different styles. These are mostly good, and while you don't need to use specific gobblegum, it is highly recommended to run something like Undead Man Walking because you will struggle without it. Playing this Easter egg is strange. I end up on a higher round usually because I'm not super efficient, however it doesn't feel like it takes a long time even though it does actually take quite a bit of time. That is a sign of a well-paced Easter egg, and it's well done by Gorod. The boss arena and boss fight are impeccable. The dragon is a formidable boss, and you are assisted by Ultimus Nikolai through this fight. Once complete, you are then tasked with taking out Ultimus Nikolai as he isn't willing to sacrifice himself and he puts up a fight. He is another great boss that is of course difficult, but in a fair way that makes it fun. Playing this map for any reason, casually, high round chasing, or Easter egg running, or in my case, I want to play it just to see the bosses, but any way that you wish to play Gorod, it will always feel grand and it will always be enjoyable. Number 3 is Mob of the Dead. Mob is a great experience, and it's further enhanced when you review it from the lens of its release. Sure, it is still an amazing classic now, but at the time, this map was revolutionary and exactly what the community needed. Even now, I went through and played all of the maps leading up to this, and let me tell you, when I loaded in and opened the scoreboard, I was elated. Seeing all the items I could get shown there and knowing I'd be able to finally pick up more than one at a time was such a blissful relief. There are just a few items, but they're all important and none of that feels like a waste. Having Afterlife be your power method and half of the progression for the map is a great innovation that isn't often seen, and I don't expect it to come back much again. I am glad that Blood of the Dead left it alone, thank God. Considering this map is more directly tied to the concept of a cycle than any other map, the Afterlife system works flawlessly for that. When, in any other map, you would game over, here, you get a chance to pick yourself up and go again. Afterlife being electric based and the electric chairs being here makes the perfect map to have introduced Electric Cherry. Mob of the Dead is a beautifully haunting map. This prison, which is infamous in real life, feels totally foreboding and ominous here. It can really cram you down in some tight spots, but there are enough open spots to relieve you that allow those tight spots to feel intense and not annoying. Getting yourself set up on this map is a rewarding process that feels like it's truly building to something, and then it pays it off by slamming you into the Golden Gate Bridge and giving you another great set piece there. As this is a prison, it is only fitting that a warden would prefer you stay locked up and is going to actively try to stop you from being out. The warden is another great mini-boss. He's got presence and he requires your attention, but he isn't too difficult to take down. You will want to take him down quickly though, or he's going to lock buildables, perks, the box, or Pack-a-Punch. I believe that Mob of the Dead is the perfect example of a one-off crew being memorable and having a story that is fascinating. They are incredible, and from the opening cutscene they draw you in, making you care about how their story goes. You want to know why this is happening to them and how it can be stopped. Leading into the Easter egg then, this is an egg that is not going to ask too much of its players. Realistically, you just have to repeat the playing process 3 times, and along with a few other steps, you can finish it without much trouble. Bringing in the Golden Spork was a fun idea and was the first time we could change our melee weapon to something much more powerful by doing a mini quest, instead of buying a new one. The most unfortunate part of the Easter egg is that it can't be done solo fully. This is logical but disappointing. The end requires Weasel to kill the other players or the others to kill Weasel. As a solo player, you wouldn't be able to fulfill that act, and so it can't be done. This is a great time to mention the repeating plane process though. The first time you build the plane, it takes some time to run around and use Afterlife along with other mechanics to retrieve all the parts. All of these subsequent times don't require any extra work again. You just have to return to the general areas you got the parts from the first time, and there you will be able to grab a gas can. It takes a little time to grab these, but not too long, and it isn't hard. Wrapping up Mob of the Dead, I'd like to point out some of the changes Mob brought to zombies. As mentioned before, a huge quality of life improvement is that you can pick up all parts and store them as you move around. This feature has stayed ever since and is one of the greatest changes made to zombies. No more clunky part collecting and building, now it is smooth, and with that, allows the devs to bring in more items to be built as we can easily collect more parts that they add. This is the first map with a wonder weapon upgrade process. No more sticking it in the pack-a-punch, no. Now, you have got to work at collecting parts to build a completely new version of it. This makes for 4 different versions of the wonder weapon, all from the base Blundergat, the other 3 being the Sweeper, Acid Gat, and Vitrolic Withering. While this isn't a true 4 versions, as 2 of them are just upgrades of the lower version, this again opens the door for there to be more wonder weapons, variants, and deeper upgrade processes in future maps. The Hell's Retriever, which can be upgraded to the Hell's Redeemer, is a great piece of equipment that feels like a stepping stone towards later maps having unlockable specialist weapons. This is a great piece of equipment and it's just a cool concept. Mob of the Dead is a true staple to zombies and it deserves so much credit for how good it is and how much it set up future zombies maps. Number 2 is Origins. Origins is legendary. It is an impeccable map that fully put on a showing of what zombies was and could be at the time. Harsh trenches of war, swarming with the undead, 1,000 foot tall robots loom over and roam the playable space. A new voice speaks to you, seeking your help. They speak of staffs that could turn the tide, that could open Agartha. From the jump, it feels like you're on a glorious quest, and the gameplay comes to reflect that. Reunited with alternate versions of the original 4 characters we know, this map starts epic in the intro, and the pedal stays down to the metal the whole way. You are faced with challenges during your match that grant you rewards, and most of these can be done simply by playing the game, which is great. Getting power on is done across 6 zones in the map, which leads to one of the only true things I can complain about in Origins. Once power is on, there will be Templar zombies every few rounds that come to turn power off at one of the generators. You will have to rush over to whichever random generator is under attack and stop it. This is frustrating to deal with in this large map, and having power taken away after being turned on isn't fun. It's no surprise that this type of mechanic doesn't show face in zombies again. What you're using to kill zombies is an exciting change of pace. This map was given much more unique weapons from the box compared to the rest of Black Ops 2, and it works great. The new MG08 machine gun is beautiful and perfectly blends into the steampunk type vibe this map has going on. And of course, the staffs. These are the start of a glorious formula for zombies, a base wonder weapon idea that branches into 4 unique styles from that with upgrades. Each staff plays a little differently and they all feel good to use. The Ice and Fire staff are a head above the rest and are the most fun to use in my eyes. Their upgrades challenge the player in a new way to solve some complex puzzles. In general, these follow the pattern of hard to learn, easy to master. These aren't quite easy to master. There are quite a few codes and patterns involved you'd have to remember or have a cheat sheet handy. If you've got that though, then these aren't complex. They are, however, rewarding. The upgraded staffs make the base ones look like children's toys, and they are so powerful. It is a treat in zombies when you are allowed to feel powerful, and this map really lets you get there. The Panzer arrives as a new boss enemy, and these guys are just built different. They are tanky and have some weapons to mess you up. If they grab you and pull you in, you have to act very fast to save yourself. They've got a flamethrower that will burn you down up close. If you don't keep your distance and play smart, these guys will take you out. They are a great mid-round boss, and it's no surprise that they have popped up in different versions elsewhere. This Easter egg propelled the Aether story to a new level, where it really started to get complex. But to get there, the Easter egg had to be done. This quest mainly is based on getting the staffs upgraded. Beyond that, there isn't a ton to do after, but that's okay. After getting the staffs done, you will have already sunk a good amount of time into this, and getting to the end shortly after is well done in my opinion. Playing Origins still feels grand to this day, and it's one of the best that Zombies has to offer. Taking our number one spot as my favorite Zombies map ever made, and what I think is the best Zombies map ever made, is Der Eisendrache. I have nothing but good things to say about this map. It is amazing through and through. The setting of this map is gorgeous and feels right at home for zombies in this castle turned 115 research facility. The layout of the map is smooth. When you first start moving, it does feel a little clunky, but as soon as you get your jump pads active and the doors from power all open up, this map runs excellently. Anything you need has a quick way to get there, whether it is running or using a fast travel, which there are plenty of. The only thing that is a hiccup in this map, and it is a tiny nitpick, is not being able to get down by the rocket during tests. It can delay you for a good few moments waiting for that to pass, but it doesn't take long. This map takes concepts from its predecessors and maintains their quality or improves upon it. You feed dragons here, and that maintains the quality set by Mob of the Dead with dogs. You have 4 different elemental wonder weapons like Origins, but here their upgrade processes are improved. I could tell you some of the scattered steps to upgrading the staves, but I can't organize them into correct order or remember all of the codes and symbols you need to know as well. However, I can still remember how to upgrade all of these bows even with long breaks between playing the map. They have a handful of steps with varying complexity, but all of them are doable and you don't have to memorize codes or anything, just remember the steps and some locations. This is the type of upgrade process that I gravitate towards, and as I have said a few times before, difficult to learn, easy to master. Figuring this out wasn't very easy at the start, but once guides were out there, it became easy to commit to memory and replicate. So, the setting is great and the wonder weapons are great. What about the mini-boss? The Panzer makes a return from Origins and it's changed a little bit here. This is neither better nor worse than previously, again maintaining quality. This Panzer requires attention just like the last one, however this time he will shock you and ruin your day, but he is pretty fun and manageable to deal with. Everything on the base level of this map is great, so now we have to take the last dive and look at Easter egg and story. This Easter egg is near perfect in length and difficulty. You only need to upgrade one bow to get started, which means you can kick off sooner. Once you're going, you're faced with the Wisps. This gets you your first code and your first use of a Simon Says computer. However, it isn't yet Simon Says. Entering your first code opens the safe where you grab the remaining pieces you need for the Death Ray. Now with that together, you hit Simon Says twice. This comes from Moon, and here the quality is again maintained. Activate the Death Ray again, and now you've shot something out of the sky, which turns out to be a capsule holding Ultimus Dempsey. This also brought you the Vril Vessel, which summons a keeper you must feed souls with by killing zombies with the elemental bows. Once fed, this keeper heads to the MPD and jumps in. You chase after it, and now you face your first true Treyarch Zombies boss battle. This is a home run design for their first outing. A simple arena, you against the boss and their skeletons and panzers. First order is to survive, but you also need to keep an eye on the boss and stun them before their wipe. If you are unable to stun them, then you can use the pillars to hide, survive, and push to another chance at stunning the wipe. Once you hit that stun, then you have to do as much damage as you can. If you do enough, you advance to the next stage. Once you finish all 3 stages, the fight is done and the Easter egg is almost complete. Grab the summoning key and activate the main computer with it. At this time, you complete the Mirror of Moon, and this time, Earth sends rockets to blow up the moon. This Easter egg is so well paced, there is hardly any downtime. You are either chasing something like the Wisps, playing memory games, or feeding souls. Then you have an epic boss battle to top it off. The story for this map is quite interesting too. Without getting into all the nitty gritty, the goal is to get Ultimus Dempsey's soul for the summoning key, and the final cutscene where Primus Dempsey wants to be the one to do it instead of Richtofen is another example of Primus having more depth, and specifically to the Primus group, this shows a slight release in the stranglehold Richtofen originally had. He had the plan, and he did the work himself to ensure it all went perfectly as planned. Here, however, he relinquishes control to Dempsey in a moment where he trusts Dempsey to do what needs to be done, and by doing so, builds more trust in all 3 members towards himself. This is great to not only advance the story beyond collecting Ultimus Dempsey's soul, but developing our new crew even further to get us invested in what happens to them and ultimately their Ultimus counterparts. Der Eisendrache hits on every checkmark it needs to, and checks them flawlessly. It hasn't been done better than this, and I hope it eventually is. I would love to see a map that is above this standard finally after 8 years. And there we have it. That is 76 maps ranked. It took a lot longer than I thought it would, and I've still got a few more things to add coming off of that spreadsheet. In replaying these maps, I spent a total of 114 hours just playing the maps. That averaged out to 90.5 minutes per map. That is a long time, but I wanted to make sure that I had a proper idea of these maps again before I went and ranked them. I also Starship Troopered, and I did my part by killing 81,024 zombies. If you made it to the end of this very long video, I appreciate you sticking around. Please leave a like and comment anything you agreed or disagreed with down in the comments below. I'd love to hear it, and I will be reading any that come through. Other than that, I've got nothing else. Farewell, until next time.